Fishing Gurus podcast.
Couple of questions I've had in my mind. I was thinking about it last night.
Oh.
Spice Girls.
Oh.
Who was your favourite?
Probably Posh Spice.
Which one's that? Victoria Beckham?
Victoria Beckham.
Why?
I don't know, she was a bit sassy, wasn't she? She was a bit prim and proper.
Is your Mrs. Sassy?
Yeah.
Is she? I know Cara, don't I?
You know.
I know Cara.
But no, yeah, probably Posh Spice. But the other ones didn't really do it for me, really.
I went to see him, you know.
I can imagine you did.
I did.
Did you get on the stage?
I didn't, but I am convinced that one of them waved at me.
Yeah.
I were about 5 rows back on Valley Stadium. Honestly, I swear to God, one looked at me and thought,
Do you
look
know
at
what?
that cute ginger
Did you have
kid.
clothes on?
Yeah.
At that stage, right? Well, maybe
Honestly.
not.
I love Baby Spice, mate.
Oh.
Who were your favourite, Tobe?
Mate, the Spice Girls were like a little bit before. I can only probably name you Posh Spice, Sporty Spice.
The only one you need to know, Posh.
Ginger
really.
Yeah, that's
Spice.
it.
I bet she
Ginger
was
Spice.
wild.
I bet she a bit crazy, yeah?
Yeah, I like that.
Are you
I
a
like
fellow
that.
ginger, mate? Are you a bit
I
crazy?
used to like
Yeah.
Sporty Spice
Oh, yeah.
actually, because she used to wear really cool Adidas trainers and Adidas tracky bottoms.
Well, we'll come on
So I
to
sort-
trainers later.
Yeah, so I sort of maybe fashioned myself on her a little bit, but a boy's version.
Right.
But liked Posh Spice, I suppose.
What about pancakes? I wanted to ask you. We've got Pancake Day coming up as we're filming
Ooh.
now.
Mate, I've been smashing the pancakes out recently.
Already?
I've nailed the fucking flip and everything. I've been buzzing, mate.
Pancake fillings.
Someone needs to get out a bit more.
Yeah, mate, lockdown's been tough.
Pancakes for me, I'm quite boring really. I like the flippy business, but for me, just lemon and sugar.
So you're a sweet guy, really, aren't you?
Sweet guy.
Never have gravy on them.
What
Honestly, my missus. I had this conversation with my missus
Gravy?
yesterday. You know what I'm having on mine? I'm having 2 tomorrow. I'm gonna have the main course with stew, pancake with stew on it,
You're having a laugh, mate.
and then I'm gonna have one with honey as a dessert.
That's a bit weird, though, mate.
It is a bit weird,
He
isn't
is
it?
from Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all your fault, is it?
I don't mind that.
You are joking me.
Anyway,
Gravy.
let's get on to what we're here for. Adam Rooney, welcome to the Fishing Gurus podcast.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have you on, mate. I had to ask the boss if you could come on.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, "Ooh, he's a bit of a wild one, but go on then, we'll have him on."
Thanks. Well,
No, welcome aboard, mate.
thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
I don't know where to start with you, but I do know where to start because I've planned it really. The journey. One thing that loads of people ask me when I'm out and about, obviously being a part of Guru, is where the hell did it all start?
Not with me.
You weren't here at the
I
start.
wasn't here. No. So you want the very first, the start of Guru? Well, the first I ever heard of it, my good friend Alex Bones and Steve Ringer. Well, actually, it probably come from Steve Ringer first, thinking back, because as we all know, Steve is usually light years ahead of everyone else, especially back then in the early days. I know he was using a lot like PVA, he was using like Corda lead clips and stuff like that. I mean, in match fishing, it was unheard of. He was using boilies as well, like all those years ago.
Never heard of that.
And I know Dan took a bit of a liking to Steve and loved what he was doing. He was in the Angling Times all the time, and he sort of got a bit of a Corda sponsorship deal, if I remember rightly. He might put me right on that, but that's what I thought happened. And then Alex at the time was quite innovative as well. I mean, you knew Alex back in those days. He was right on his game with his fishing. The things he used to come out with were mind-boggling. And Alex is always quite secretive. So we'd be chatting away, really good mates, me and Alex. And he says, "Oh, I'm setting up a new brand." I went, "Oh, are you?" Like that. I think he was working at Dynamite Baits, I want to say.
Yeah, will it
before
be?
that, yeah. And we used to do quite a lot of fishing together. And yeah, he was always up to stuff. And then, yeah, he sort of kept it quite secretive for quite a while. And then he sort of said, "Oh, me and Steve are setting up this new brand." And I was like, "Oh, brilliant." I was working in a tackle shop at the time. So he was sort of using me as a bit of a ideas man, what sells, you know, like that. So I was sort of a little bit involved without knowing I was. And then, yeah, he says, "Oh, yeah, we're calling it Guru and we're launching it in a few weeks." And he says, "Oh, we're looking for sponsored anglers." He said, "Would you be interested?" And Alex being my mate, and I was like, well, yeah, sort of would. But I was with Garbolino at the time, and Darren Cox, a big friend of mine, he'd looked after me since I was really young, probably like 14 years old. He was helping me out with tackle and stuff. So I felt like I should stay where I am.
Yeah, you had quite a good deal, because I remember seeing magazine features with you in, and obviously Garbolino's already established. They've got poles, they've got rods, they've got everything.
Yeah, that's it.
And this guy's approaching you saying, do you want to come to our brand that you've never heard of and it hasn't even got going yet?
And we're doing matchy cart products. What? But no, I mean, I trusted in Alex and obviously Steve. You know it's going to be there or thereabouts. So I sort of not declined the offer. I said, look, I'll help you where I can. You know, if you want any advice through the tackle shop, I've been in tackle shops a long time at this point, and bits and bobs like that. But yeah, and that's where it started really. So I was still in the shop. I declined the offer as a bit of a consultant sponsorship deal. It was difficult when you worked in a shop as well to have an actual deal, because obviously you needed not to be biased as such, even though all the sponsors wanted to sponsor you because they know you'd be flogging their products in a shop. I can imagine. But I'd been with Darren for a long time, and Dynamite Baits actually at the time. So I stuck to my guns, and I was really interested in what was going to happen with this Guru brand. And I went to the launch day, which was at Gold Valley, and it was brilliant. I met Dan, Neil Spooner. Well, I saw some bad casting by Spooner on the day, to be honest. Damien and a few of the other guys. And they were sort of demonstrating the products, and they were showing tackle shops what they planned to do and bits and bobs. And I thought, God, yeah, this looks wicked.
So obviously them people, Danny Fairbrass, Damien Clark, they are the Corda originals, aren't they?
Yeah,
Dan owns it.
Yeah, Dan and Damo are the ones. Dan obviously owns it, and yeah, knew about Corda. I mean, I worked in J&K Tackle at the time, and like Corda Tackle was just a joke. It was in and out all the time. What was that, 15 years ago, even longer? Not showing me age or anything, but yeah. So I knew how powerful the brand was, and to go into match fishing with the likes of Steve and Alex, you thought there was only going to be one winner really. And yeah, I went to the sort of like launch party. They launched the brand, and yeah, it was really innovative, really funky, good colours and stuff like that. And
what can you remember from it? What sticks in your mind in terms of like products and what they had? What did they show you?
The method
first?
feeder was really different, and the X-Safe system. I mean, that invention for me. I'm always been quite keen on fish care, and I loved elasticated feeders, but hated obviously the consequences if you got snapped off with one. And they'd sort of fix that problem, so that was a massive thing for me. I really liked it. And hooks, the QM1 hook, crazy, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, I looked at it and was like, yeah, right, okay, yeah, I'll carry on using me probably back then B911s or something, but they were hooked on them. And yeah, it was really interesting. They were really changing the direction of sort of commercial match fishing with the start of the brand. I thought the products were a little bit expensive when they first come out, which obviously as time goes on, the products now obviously working in product development were warranted the cost and the price that they were. But back then, from changing a swim feeder from being like £1.50 to £1.99 to one coming out at £3.65, you're like, how's this going to work? But
you can imagine what like the Northern Match Boys must have thought.
Oh yeah, they'd have had a heart attack.
Yeah, yeah, big time.
So that was the start of it from them. And then yeah, I met up with Alex a few times. He sort of started involving me in a few bits and bobs, had a few conversations with the likes of Damien and stuff without even really realising he was checking me out. And not like from a fancying point of view, because that's obvious he'd fancy me, but no, joking.
He's going to love that bit.
You were checking me out.
But obviously Alex had been putting in good words for me, and I didn't really know what for. And at the time, I was in J&K. I'd been there a long time, and Alex just approached me one day. He said, how do you fancy becoming a rep for Guru? I'm like, what? So he said, just come, give me a chance, come and see us, and we'd love you to be involved, and I can get you then as a sponsored angler rather than that. So I was like, I don't know. I was really complacent where I was. I loved my job. I used to go fishing 4 times a week. J&K was like my family. My mum and dad.
You actually lived there, didn't you?
Well, I lived with my boss. Yeah. He I had a good fishing relationship with a girl, what always happens. Fishing, the girl dumped me. You know how it goes. And there was sort of a bit of a loose end. So my boss said, why don't you come and live with me? This is Joe Taylor, by the way.
Yeah.
The famous Joe Taylor. And in the shop there was Joe, his wife Kath, and Mark Taylor were in the shop. And it was a lovely family shop. And I'd been there a long time. And to be honest, he looked after us like a family. It wasn't like working. It was a family. He give you a free run. I'll run the match department, and it was brilliant. And he offered me to move in with him, like to help me out for a short while. He'd had half the employees live with him at some point. He had all the dropouts, I think, and then turned them into decent people. So
awesome.
He was an amazing bloke. But anyway, yeah. So I'm living at my boss's house, Joe Taylor's. And Alex Bones, he's trying to get me to leave my job and go and work on the road for Guru to try and get Guru into the tackle shops and obviously be part of the team and to do a little bit of product development and stuff like that. So, yeah, that was an interesting time when I had to go downstairs and have my dinner with my boss and sit there and tell him that I was going to leave.
How did he take that then? How did Joe take it? What did he say?
He already knew. Well, I don't know if he actually already knew, but he said to me, which has always stuck in my mind, and Joe was a decent man. He taught me so much about life and being a good person and just being a generally, you know, he was like a magician to me. The bloke, he just made me smile every time I saw him because he'd always come out with stuff and they were all lessons, you know, as you're growing up. And he was an amazing guy, and it was the most scared I've ever been. And I thought, right, well, I need to tell him when I get into the office tomorrow because that's, you know, the way to do it. Anyway, I sat down at dinner, and Kath had made us these great big steaks. The food I had at Joe's house was, you ask Gary Newman or any of the guys that go around Joe's for dinner, the dinners were epic. I probably put on about 3 stone. And I sat there and I just had to tell him. I said, Joe, I've been offered a job at Guru. He said, that's with Damien, isn't it, Corder? And I went, yeah. He went, you stick by Damien Clark, you won't go far wrong.
Wow.
So he'd started packing my bags for me. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So yeah, I went for an interview and got the job.
So you started on the road selling then?
Yeah, selling the product. So come down for an interview. I don't do interview. I couldn't even write a CV really back then. I worked in the tackle shop riddling maggots and doing casters and giving people advice on poles. So I come to an interview and there was like Neil Spooner, Ali Hamidi and Damien Clark all in the same room. And obviously you've seen them on the telly and bits and bobs, so it was very nerve-wracking. And but it was really laid back. And obviously I think I got back home and before I even got in the door, Spooner was on the phone and he offered me the job. So yeah, I started on the road for Guru.
Fantastic.
Yeah, probably had basically Corder was well established and had reps, but to add Guru into the brand put a lot of pressure on the current reps. So there wasn't, you know, they didn't have the time. They were selling Corder stuff, so they wanted to try a Guru rep, get through the shops.
Was there any match anglers involved on the road at that point, or were all the Corder reps carp guys?
There was a couple of like agents at the time, which obviously had an interest in sort of course fishing more than match fishing. So yeah, it was all new. So we had Steve and Alex at the helm. Steve was like a consultant. He didn't work here. So he was a paid consultant to come up with the ideas, and Alex was the product developer, brand manager as such. So yeah, and I come along to sort of give Alex a hand and work on the road, which was game-changing, amazing.
What were it like? What were life on the road like? Because obviously we all see reps in tackle shops, you bump into them.
Obviously I'd been the other side of the counter, hadn't I, for many years. So I sort of knew what to expect and knew what I liked and knew what I didn't like. So I probably had a bit of an advantage. But yeah, it was a tough learning curve because it was obviously such a new product. I've got quite a funny story from one of the first shops I ever went into.
Go on, let's hear it.
And you set that
up. Yeah, so basically when I started, I come down to the office for a few days and all the in-house accounts that were sort of in the area that I was going to do, which my area ended up from Birmingham to just below Scotland across to like Peterborough. It was a massive area.
Basically England.
I think I had about 180 shops, I think.
Wow.
But obviously And Spoon's like, yeah, just visit them once a month. That'd be fine. But no, I was joking. It was about a 4 or 6 week turnaround. But obviously kept in touch with everyone via phone. So I got all these in-house accounts. So my first job was to introduce myself from here, and then got out on the road. And one of the first shops I went to was Val Royal Angling Centre.
Roddy Scott.
Scott. Now, I knew Roddy Scott from his Irish fishing and obviously being quite a keen angler as well myself. Knew him to say hello to, and that was it. So got me trousers on and my shirt, Tobes. Gone down there, thought, Val, well, that'd be a great start, going there. Nice shop. So I've gone in there and said, hi, yeah, I'm Adam from Guru and Corda. He went, Corda? He says, what are you here for? I went, I'm the new rep on the area. And he went, you best leave, mate. I went, what? Why?
This is Roddy.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean? He was nice to me.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He says, yeah, you best go and speak to your sales manager. And I was like, oh, well, this is a great start. Bright red and sort of escorted out the building. So anyway, I've gone back to the car. I was like, this isn't what I expected. Spooner? Yeah, Ads, what's up? I said, I've just been to Val Royal and been kicked out. He went, hold on, let me have a... Oh, they're on hold for something, or there was a disagreement on something. So Corda weren't sending them stuff, and they weren't sending Corda money to pay for a dispute.
Brilliant.
But a couple of days later, I went back in and, built a relationship. And that's how it went throughout the 2 years that I was on the road. So building relationships with shops. You treated every shop differently. Some you call them sir, some you call them other things when you walk through the door. But it was great. It was, I really enjoyed it. Really amazing experience. And there is something to be said about a rep's life. It's the McDonald's and the garage lunches aren't the best, but meeting all the different people, it was pretty amazing. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It must have set you up for what's happened in the future as well, because obviously you know what people want. You've met them characters. I bet you did a lot of talking to fishermen.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Shop.
I made so many friends out on the road. Like one of the shops on a Tuesday evening, I used to go and have bacon sandwiches. Like it was my last shop, and go and he'd always do bacon sandwiches on a Tuesday night and just sit and have a natter and stuff. And
superb.
Fridays, the famous old Elton Tackle, used to go in there on a Friday afternoons to see the lads and stuff, get your bait for the weekend and have a good natter. I was there till 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So it was brilliant.
I've got a question.
Go on.
What's the longest you've ever been stuck in traffic on the road as a rep?
As a rep, well, yeah. I've got a longer journey to work actually than as a rep. But yeah, I remember going to, trying to think the longest one would be. I went to a place called Short Ferry Angling.
Yes, out near Lincoln, that way on. Yeah.
Bearing in mind,
he was called.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah. He was a DJ, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I lived in Manchester at the time. And you come back, they call it Snakes Pass, don't they?
Yeah.
And they literally just closed it while I was on it. And I just remember being there for hours. And I needed the toilet really bad. And I was looking for like
this
stuff,
was going to be my next question.
what I could wee into. But I still had half my drink and knew I had still a long journey. So I didn't want to drink my drink. And stuff, and I just bursting to go. In the end, I couldn't find anything suitable, so I opened the van door and stood against it while I was there and just had a little wee. But no, that was a bad one. But I've had a worse one travelling to work in the nearer future.
Go on, I want to hear that as well before we move on.
Well, logistically, I live sort of in the Midlands, and obviously we're in Essex here, so it's on a good day, it's a 2.5 hour journey to the office. And when we worked. Was it this place or the place before? Not quite sure. But anyway, so coming down the M1, the old sat-nav saying, roads closed, you're going to have to come off. So anyway, I ended up going through London. Bearing in mind.
That's a detour.
And just got absolutely stuck. The route it took me, I don't know, I think it was a setup. But I left my house at 5:30 that morning. And I got into work at 1 o'clock.
That's it. I'd have gone home.
I was too far down the road.
What point do you turn round?
This is it. This is it.
Wow.
I think sat-navs are a bit better now, but that wasn't a good
Do you have
day.
one of them like fat Tom ones?
I can remember them, yeah.
Fuming that always fell off the window screen.
Awesome.
But yeah, so where were we? Rep for 2 years. I was the best sales rep, obviously, Corda ever had.
There you go. Have some of that.
Not really, Paul Harris. I'm not going to tread on your ground. No, but I really enjoyed it, and it was the sort of meeting people element. And the brand started doing well. People were taking on the brand and believing in it, and it was a slow process. It weren't just like walking in there going, yeah, you'll have all this stuff. It took some selling and took some educating, but yeah, it was really good, really exciting time of my life.
Love it. What came next? So 2 years on the road as a rep. That was your first 2 years.
Yeah, my first 2 years. Yeah. So what came next was a bit of a bombshell, really. I think I was on the road one day. No, actually, I just pulled up at home, and Alex rang me. All right, Alex? Yeah,
Alex Bones.
Yeah. You all right, mate? Yeah, sound. And I thought, he sounds a bit sheepish. And he goes, ads, I've left. Left where? He says, I've left Guru. And I'm like, why? And he went, well, a number of different things. I won't go into that. I mean, that was for Alex, really. But Alex did a fantastic job here, starting it off and getting it all going and getting the right people on board. I'm really close to Alex as well. He just started having a little family, and he was living in Essex and obviously working all hours God send, which was probably too much, really, and too much for his wife, girlfriend, Jen, and the little one they had. So they needed a support network, really. So he needed to go back home to where he was originally from the Midlands, which was a real shame. But Alex is very ambitious. As you all know, he's a lot of people will know he's into cars and stuff, so he always had things going on, so he was ready to move on to the next thing. But for me, it was a real shame, and Alex had got me the job and got me to where I'd got to. So
it sounds like it was a complete shock out of the blue as well.
Real
really.
Big shock. Yeah. I'm not, I never really found out the ins and outs, but he decided that was the best thing for him and his family, so you can't take that away from him. But yeah, it was like, oh God, Alex got me the job. I wonder if everyone else is going to keep me on,
Yeah.
And that was it. And so put the phone down from Alex, and it was like I always remember the evening being really blurry, sort of, God, real blow, I was gutted. I rang Steve, and Steve was of the same opinion, and we're like, well, what are we going to do now, because there's no one at the helm, sort of thing. Next thing, Damien Clark on the phone. Alex, yeah, okay, can you and Steve do it? And I'm like, I've got a full-time job on the road, sort of thing. So Steve took a little bit more on, and I took a bit more on doing the product development side, and we had really great help from Tom Dove as well. He was obviously going through the ranks of the Corda product development, and he was doing a few Guru products as well. So it sort of worked out. We were bouncing off ideas off each other, sending them to Tom. Tom was moving them to sampling stage and stuff like that. So
you're still doing your full-time rep
still
job
doing
as well.
That, and Steve's still doing his thing. So yeah, we knew it didn't have long-term. And then Damien phoned me again. Right, we need to get someone for this job, or we're going to wrap it up, because it's just not sustainable to do it like this. So he was like, why don't you take the job? And I was like, well, I'm quite happy. I'm bobbing around on the road, got loads of new friends, loving life in Manchester and stuff like that. And I sort of didn't really want to commit to it. I like a safe place, me. I sort of didn't want to commit to it. So anyway, I got roped into doing one of the Corda shows. We all know what they're like, Tobe, don't we?
Yeah, don't we just?
This is before Guru really did a show. I think it was in Norwich or something. Anyway, it was first day done. Really enjoyed it, on the stand with the Corda boys. I think I worked with Peggy, that day on Selling Line. I just loved it. Anyway, we've gone out that evening, had a few beers like you used to on the shows, and we were in some bar, and Damien went, you got to take that job. I'm like, no. He said, I'll help you move down and everything. I was like, oh, Damien, I can't commit to it. So, and he goes, right, well, if you stay as a rep, you're not doing any features. You're just going to be a rep, and that's all you're going to be. Right, okay. Well, let me have a think about it. Right, you got this weekend.
Pressure on.
So, like, Sunday night, I'm driving back to Manchester from Norwich thinking, how's this going to go down? So anyway, yeah, that was the end of another relationship. Not just because of those reasons, but yeah, I decided to take the plunge, and to be fair, Damien made it very easy for me to move down, looked after me, supported me to do the big move from Manchester into the office. And yeah, I took the job as brand manager. So yeah.
Absolutely
That's where we are
amazing.
now.
And what state was Guru in when you took over? Because you say there were a point you mentioned where they were debating whether or not it was going to carry on.
Yeah, I think. Well, I had a little phone call from Steve, and he'd had a meeting with Dan and Damo whether to carry it on. It didn't fly off the shelves to start with, and obviously there was a big gap with Alex missing, so we needed someone to fill that place and try and give it an opportunity to push forward. Yeah, it was strange really at those times. It was like no one actually said, right, if you don't do this, but you knew.
Yeah.
You knew that they weren't going to invest any more time into this because they had such a big ship to steer as it was with Corda. So someone needed to take the reins, and that was me.
So when did it start to get serious then? Where did you progress from
my
there?
first day in the office weren't very serious, so
Go on, what happened?
Another story here, isn't there?
just a quick one. I'll keep it quick. So I've come down to the office. I've just moved in to a house opposite Ali in Colchester.
Yes.
He was brilliant. He helped me out, and ended up having a little friend coming to live with me as well. Jake Wildboar. Really good mate of
Lovely
mine.
lad.
He,
I used to work with his brother at Dan at DHP.
Oh, I love Jake, and to be honest, it was the perfect scenario. Jake took a job in, I think it was sales.
He was in sales, yeah.
Yeah,
he was,
just to get. He wanted to get his foot in the door at Thingy. Everyone loved Jake from events and stuff, and he was a sponsor dangler. And we ended up living together in a little flat in Colchester, opposite Ali.
Bet that were a right man pad, wasn't it?
It was good. It was messy and it was good. But yeah, so we were starting to live together, drove into work together first day. I was a little bit nervous because obviously I'd been out on the road, knew everyone in the office. I've been about for 2 years. But obviously my whole job had totally changed. I've still got shops ringing me up going, you got any of these in stock? I'm like, but it was a big changeover. So yeah, I got to the office and sort of sat at my desk, and I was opposite Dovey. And I sort of sat there and thinking, Dave won't be here in a minute, won't he tell me what to do and everything? Yeah, okay. So I sat there. Tom, is Damo coming in? Yeah, he's going to be late. All right, okay. So I sort of sat there. I thought, what do I do now? Start drawing some pictures or something? Anyway, Damo rolled up about lunchtime. And
standard.
He goes, "You're right, yeah, brilliant, yeah, I'm ready to get going." He says, I ain't sorted your laptop yet. You'll have to wait till tomorrow. So I spent the whole day sort of like just planning stuff on a bit of paper. And yeah, for the next day, it was like, there's your laptop. Bearing in mind I hadn't sent many emails in my time. Here's your supplier list, and there was a couple of guys in product development that sort of fed me into it, and yeah, it just went from there really.
Amazing. It sounds a bit like my first day at Guru, that, Tobe.
Go on,
So
what
let
was
you
your
into a
first-
little
yeah,
secret.
go on.
Obviously the boss is Adam Rooney.
Yeah,
isn't
we
he?
know that one. Yeah.
So, coming down from Sheffield, 182 miles, thought I
Yeah.
better come down the night before because I don't want to be late on my first day. So I stayed in a little travel lodge up the road here. Get up nice and early, don't want to be late. I got there before Roon, and Roon's pulled up next to me. Yeah, sound. We've walked upstairs. It was first day in this new building.
Yeah, we just moved in here.
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in here, was it?
Yeah.
Roon's,
okay.
So Roon's gone, I'll show you I'll show you basics on my kit. Your computer's not here yet.
Oh,
Matt.
right.
It's going to be about. It's going to be
Common
about.
theme.
It's going to be about 3 weeks. Right. So I've got 3 weeks. I haven't even got a computer. I'll show you, but don't worry. I'll show you a few bits on my computer. Oh no. I've not remembered my computer. You'd forgot your computer and I haven't got one. So my first day at Guru, I had what are they called? The Post-it notes. I had a pack of Post-it notes and a pen.
We always have good stock of Post-it notes.
Yeah, we do.
I
So
think
really, you didn't go to any lengths to make sure that Matt had a different experience to you.
Oh,
so
no.
your dad, Tobe, rubbed off on us, really.
That's it.
So it was a very similar start. Treat them mean, keep them keen.
I loved it, to be fair. I think I had the first 3 weeks, I had a phone, a pen and a pad.
Yeah,
But it were really good. We got loads done.
Smashed it, didn't you?
They were good.
I remember that.
Love
No,
that.
it was good old days when you started, wasn't it? So
Very nice.
the start of the
Enjoyed it,
media.
mate. So all of a sudden it must have started getting very serious. When did
Yeah.
you realise it were going to lead to where it is today? Because, it's
Well,
no denying it's a big thing now.
yeah, it is a big thing, but it was always going to be, I think. If you look at the Corda platform and the people that are behind Corda, I mentioned Damo a lot. I mean, he steers the ship. He's, so good at what he does, and he grows you as a person and as someone doing that job as well. So he's hard work at sometimes, picks on us a little bit, Tobe,
I
doesn't
can
he?
vouch for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it at home as well.
It's tough love, and he looks after us. And from the very first day I come and worked as brand manager, there was no doubt that this brand was going to go all the way to where it is now, and a lot further to go. That was the goal. You know, we weren't going to stop by just making a few hooks and a few commercial stuff. It was a brand. It was like Corda. You know, weren't going to ever rush stuff. Like Corda, look after the TT tackle. You know, develop whatever you can and move forward and do things for the right reason. And for me, it was quite easy because that was the platform I had to follow. It was all laid out for me. I had to follow the path. Tough learning along the way because I hadn't done anything like that before. But yeah, it wasn't hard. And you surround yourself with people like you've got here that have been here for a long time. It makes your life a lot easier, as you will well know yourself. So
fantastic. You got a great skeleton to work on with what Corda had already done.
Yeah.
So you then became very heavily involved in product development.
Yeah.
And something I want to talk about from my own interest, and something that I know a lot of people that are listening would want to ask is, what is product development and what actually goes into it?
Product development is basically everything. So from the very start of a product, basically. So the idea, whether you think it's marketable, you know, and you have to see what you can possibly earn out of something that is going to be a success and worth doing. So there's so many different things. And also, you've got to make sure that it's an actual viable product. Some things you'd love to, like I did some crazy drawings when I first started, thinking, right, I'm going to draw this, we're going to do this. And Damien would look at me as if to say, the tooling for that's probably going to cost more than you ever selling that. So you have to be grounded, look at your range, and yeah, you start with an idea. So the best ideas come from having the best team around you. So you've got a good team around you, you're going to get the ideas. And then from the idea, you go to develop it into a product. So you'll perhaps sample it, you'll mock something up, you'll try things, and then you'll go to a supplier or a manufacturer that makes these products and speak to them about turning it into something and what the cost of that's going to be and what the tooling cost is going to be. And once you've ticked all those boxes, you can go to sampling stage, and that's just the start of it really for us. I think that's where we make a big difference to a lot of other brands. We put so much time into the actual idea and then developing the idea once we have it. And I think having such a great team around us makes that quite easy.
When you talk about the team around you, who are you talking about? Sponsored anglers?
Yeah, when I say the team, I think what makes my job easier is having the right people around you. I'm no wizard, you know, I'm brand manager and that's it. Without my team, I'm nothing. Because yes, I can come up with ideas, and I always do, and being heavily involved in fishing, those ideas naturally come. But you need people like Steve Ringer. You need people like Matthew Godfrey. Names, terrible at names, but products, you know, you need those people that are out there doing it, knowing what's missing in angling, or looking at a product that you can make better, develop. You know, you can turn into something better, which is going to help you with your fishing. And then you have to think of it from another point of view as well. So we have other people here that will go, yeah, well, that will be better for pleasure anglers. And, you know, you have to cover all the bases, tick all the boxes before you even really seriously think about product. So I'll always talk about my team, and that's my sponsored anglers. The guys we're surrounded by, like the employees like yourself, Frankie, Bobby Taylor, Rimmer even.
Everyone has an input.
Yeah, everyone has an input. And, you know, when we come up with a new product, or a new product comes, or there's something we want to do, every single person is involved. You know, Lewis, who works downstairs in customer services and returns, he's a keen match angler. He has a lot of input in products as well. So it's not just, we know what we're doing at the top here. Everyone gets involved. We have WhatsApp groups with every single person on. And if we have an idea or something, it gets shared. And I think that's how a product develops where it needs to get to.
When I'm out on the bank, I get this a lot. So you must get it a hell of a lot.
Right.
Do you get them people, anglers, come up to you and say, why don't Guru make this?
Yeah,
and throw
all
something
the time.
at you.
Yeah. Why don't you make them bags in orange, mate?
Yeah.
I don't. Orange is the colour of the brand, but I don't want all my clothing every go. Well, they send me a picture of an orange car and go, "Why don't you make one of these?"
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, it's flattering that people come up to you and you know that, but sometimes things just aren't possible. We have to look at it as a whole. What match anglers want isn't necessarily what's going to sell the product. It needs to scale down through all the levels, from match anglers to club anglers to pleasure anglers to people starting fishing. So we try and create a product that's usable from the top to the bottom, if that makes sense, and make it as user friendly and as safe as possible. So I get lots of people text me a picture of something or something that someone else has made and go, "Why don't you do one of these, mate? I like these, but I'd like an orange one."
You've got a bit of a Preston feeder. They've put some midi elastic on it, and it's got a matrix arm coming off it. And mate, this is what you want to do.
I mean, mate, that's lovely. You carry on with that, but I can't really get away with doing that. Probably have a few phone calls, but no. I mean, obviously, you don't invent new products every single day of the week, and you know, very rare brand new ideas come about. We're always thinking of doing new stuff, but it's about developing stuff and tackle that is already there. We're already fishing. People have been doing it for years. You can't reinvent the wheel, but you can develop something to make it more usable, more user friendly, and better for what you need it for. And obviously fishing trends change as well, so tackle changes all the time, so you're never stuck for ideas.
Right.
It's really good.
One thing that I'm gagging to ask you is, have you ever had a product that you've put a lot of time and effort to and it's not been brought out, or it's failed? Have you ever made any big mistakes in terms of product development?
Do you know what? I'm not sure. We've had stuff that we've not brought out, and we've had stuff that basically I've spent ages on. I won't show anyone. I'll just draw this and develop this. And Mick, can you one of our CAD designers? Mick, can you draw this up for me? And then you sort of show people, and it's just not viable. So that's why the team effort comes from the start, and then you avoid having products like that you can't do. There's some things that we've held back. There's some things that we haven't brought out because the timing might not be right, like with COVID, for example. We were working on quite a few big items. As Guru's grown, we've gone from a lot of terminal tackle products to a few bigger items and stuff now, and some of those are expensive and probably not right for the marketplace at the moment. You know, there's more newcomers coming to fishing at the moment, so we've concentrated on trying to look after and support those people to make fishing as a whole better. So some bigger projects have been put on the back burner, which I'm burning inside to bring out or develop even more, but I know it's not the right time. So yeah, not any massive failures, unless you know of anything. If you use that, sorry. We've had a few emails of a few disasters, but these things happen. You know, you're mass producing products.
I've got one that I want to ask you about.
Go on.
You see this on Facebook quite a lot.
Yeah.
Just got this packet of Guru hooks. There's only 9 in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's only 9 in it.
Yeah, that's all right. Mine's got 11 in it. No, this happened, as you can imagine. If I'd love to do a video of where the hooks are counted and packed, and the effort and the time that goes into it, because people wouldn't ever moan about it, and it is horrible. And if they phone up, it gets sorted out straight
we'll
away.
post you the other hook in the post,
we will.
won't we? We'll
Or if
send
you've got
one.
11, if we'll get a courier to come and pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, these things happen when you're doing mass production. You know, in any industry, you're going to get it. You know, you get it all the time. Usually you come worse off than better off. But yeah, things like that, we try, and quality control is really important. But when you've got a million packs of hooks to check, some may get through, but there's a process we go through which Cord has set down in the early days, from as soon as it gets put in a packet, and as soon as, you know, there's checklists through all the suppliers and packers and everything like that. So we try and avoid it as much as possible, but it does happen, and you know, we can't do anything about it. But we've got the best and the nicest after sales care team, so just drop them a line if you've got a hook missing.
Drop them an email, drop them a line.
Yeah,
Pastor R.
that's it.
Lewis.
That's it.
So no real fails by the sounds of it then. So I suppose the next thing I'm going to ask you is, what product or project are you most proud of?
Oh. Should have told me these questions before. There's been so many. I'm proud of every single one of them, and I'm proud of the effort that gets put into every single one of them, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be doing this now, and I wouldn't be enjoying it as much as I enjoy it, and I wouldn't have the fantastic team I've got around me. But one that, do you know what? I probably couldn't pick one. Can I say a few that have...
No, mate, you've got to pick your favourite.
Yeah, sorry, we're strict on this.
Probably the bayonet then. Or bait band.
Bait bands are good.
Yeah,
They get
hook.
used a bit.
They do.
Yeah, the hook, that's a very good
The
product.
hook, yeah. I invented the hook. No, not really.
Of course you can say a few, mate. I'm sure
Yeah,
you've
so-
got a little bit of a story about a few of them for us.
Yeah, well, I could go in that. I could go into a few stories, but no, there's been lots of products. Probably, obviously, the hybrid feeder is probably going to be one of the most successful thingies, because it's become a household name. You know, people go hybrid feeder fishing now, which is amazing.
Yeah, we do videos just about hybrid feeder.
fishing, which was a feeder.
Which is weird, because I've never caught a hybrid on one, you know. I've caught loads of carp on
I've
them.
had a few hybrids on
Loads of F1s on them, but I've never caught a hybrid.
I had a few hybrids out to sea on them.
Did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
No. So the hybrid's quite a funny story. I've got a lot of stories on it.
Go on, tell us the hybrid one.
So back in the day, myself and Steve were using the method a lot. I'm still an avid user of the method, but at the time, it was presenting a small amount of bait seemed to be key, and a lot of people were using like these banjo style feeders. We were fishing makings a lot, so there was a lot of people chopping pots up and using them and having quite good success on them. We were fishing methods, but obviously there's more bait goes onto a method, because you have to protect the bait. You're putting more on, usually putting it on with a mould, so there's quite a bit of bait there compared to what you do. So me and Steve looked at designing a tiny little sort of banjo style feeder, and we were using them, but like we were testing them, and like the bait's not coming out, mate. It was like really annoying, and we were trying different things, and they wouldn't cast very well because obviously it was so small. We were making them out of all kinds of things, and we were sort of giving up a little bit. And Paul Holland is one of our sponsored anglers. Very innovative, never leaves I spend hours and years developing products, and I'll give him and he chops them up and takes them apart. But that's Paul. He has everything how he likes it. And he sent me this feeder in the post, and he sent me in. It was like it was actually like a method feeder, and he strapped a cage around it.
Wow.
I thought, that's a bit weird. Right, here we go. Same email to Paul. Thanks, Paul, very much. I'll have a look into it. No, joking. Paul comes up with some great stuff, to be fair.
That's who you want for product development.
He's
isn't it?
mega, yeah. He's mega. He thinks outside the box.
Yes.
Some of his things are very nichey.
And he cares so much about his ideas.
He's obsessed. And, do you know, everything is about catching that extra fish for him. And he's brilliant to have part of the team. And he got this little feeder anyway. Can't remember where I was going, but I was meeting Steve, and I took it to show Steve. I said, Paul sent me this little sort of method. He went, do you know what, that could actually work. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking, I like the holes in it, because your bait's going to, maybe if we put that on that little feeder that we've been playing about with, it would work. So we drilled holes in these little feeders we were using in the base, and they're really tiny little feeders, really small, and started using it, catching a few fish, putting it in the tank. Bait's coming off lovely, and rather than a method where it was making a big area of bait, it was keeping the bait in a real compact area. We're like, I'm gonna bring this out, this is great. And we were just thinking of bringing one feeder out.
What, like a little winter?
One 24-gram feeder. That's what we were going to bring out. So we had one made, so we went to production in one size just to see if it would work. Yeah, this is working. Yeah, this is great.
Which size was it then, out of curiosity?
It was a 24 gram, and at the time it was a small. It was
Right.
called a 24
So that's
gram
the
small.
like the little...
No, it's actually the mini now.
Wow.
So we've done this, showed Damo, yeah, love that. He went, right, you need to bring it out in loads of sizes. Why? This one works. He went, well, don't you think it would make, the methods are in a range. I was thinking, yeah, maybe it would work. Maybe it'd work at places like Boddington and that. So me, Steve, Mick, our CAD designer, sat down and created a whole range of these hybrid feeders. So rather than being plastic with a lead mould, obviously they're like a zinc alloy feeder. And then we created the holes. Every hole and everything has been tested and created so it releases the bait and you can pack the bait on perfectly. And obviously when we launched it, we couldn't believe it really. We sold out in no time at all, and it just becomes such an easy way of fishing. And it's developed from there. So like now you go hybrid feeder fishing, and it was just a product that we were going to bring one little tiny feeder out.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So Paul,
yeah.
Steve, and myself, and obviously Damo cracking the whip.
And you know what's amazing about the hybrid is the number of beginner pleasure anglers that I see in tackle shops, and they grab a hybrid feeder and they grab a packet of ready tied hooks, and they'll be at the counter and they'll go, love this, I can just pack my pellets onto it, I don't need a mould, I just put my pellets on with my bait and I'm fishing and I catch loads of fish on it. It's so easy to use.
It's that perfect scenario, isn't it? It's like
yes,
dead easy to set up, dead easy to load with bait, and the fish will come themselves.
And at the other end of the scale you've got Steve Ringer, the world #1 feeder angler, winning.
Yeah, who didn't want to release it, by the way.
Super high profile.
He wanted to keep
matches.
it to himself times.
Well, there's a little story.
That's quality, that.
Didn't you take some of the samples to Boddington?
Yeah,
And Steve looked at you and said, "I'm not using them."
Yeah. So that's funny. I'll have him about that. That is true. I remember walking up to Boddington one day, and he was fishing with his brother. I think they were trying out wafters or something new, a new bait anyway, from Ringers. And I said, I've got these bigger hybrids. Do you want to? Nah, I'll have a look at them next time I see you, ads. I went, no, let me bring them up and give them a go. They fit straight on your X-Save, so you can take your method off, pop them on. Not really suitable for Boddington, no, are they, ads? So anyway, yeah, he chucked it. I don't think he fell in love with it straight away. He used it, caught a few fish on it, started using it in other places and other scenarios. It complemented the method perfectly once you got to grips with it at that level, but lower down with your pleasure anglers, and it was just such a simple product to use. Yeah, so that was the hybrid. But yeah, that's probably been one of the better stories. But there's lots of rods. For me, the personal project which I enjoyed the most was the Aventus rods.
Tell me about Aventus. Talk to me about that.
Aventus rods, like anyone, obviously as our brand grew, people kept going to do any orange rods. So we were going to do some fishing rods. And I always wanted to do fishing rods. I've been a massive fan of Daiwa tournament rods for a long time. The Daiwa developed the rods to newer rods, and I stuck with the old ones. I had a real fascination with the old Tournament Pro rods. There was something that I really liked, and I felt they were really usable, really old-fashioned, but they were rods that did a job, and they were a proper fishing rod. And that was for me. So we looked at making some rods. Me and Pem at the time drew some rods, and a bit of input from others like Damien, obviously, who had massive input in the DF cart rods about fishing and how you make a handle on a rod to make the rod better, and that. And we went off to China to try and find something suitable. Don't get me wrong, there were some fantastic rods we found. We had some great samples and stuff, but they were never quite
I remember
good enough.
The week I first started, you took me to Boddington, didn't you? And
Yeah.
you said, I'm not meant to show you these. You should be here for 3 months before we show you.
That's
but
right,
we
yeah.
don't think you're going to leave yet, so we're going to go and have a day testing rods. And I was like, rods? You're doing rods? I thought a QM1 were about as far as it were going to go.
No, yeah. So
And they were the Chinese samples, weren't
they were the Chinese samples, and it was 3 rods we'd sampled. It took ages because we didn't really know what we were doing. We know what we wanted, but trying to get that across, especially in China where they're just trying to fob you off with something that's already there. We wanted to develop our own idea and move forward and make a rod, but it got quite apparent quite quickly that you couldn't make a rod as good as a tournament rod in the Far East. It just the grades of carbon you can't get, the build quality, and a lot of these factories in China, not that there's anything wrong with them because they make brilliant fishing rods, which is, Engage rods come from the Far East and they're fantastic. But to build a rod at that top level, it was never good enough for me. And I kept saying to Damien, do you think Daiwa would make us some rods? Damien was like, ask them. So went to see Robin.
Robin Morley.
Yeah.
The main
man at Daiwa, yeah. Absolute amazing guy. Love him to bits. Again, he's been a massive help as Guru grew, because in the early days, before we had our own stuff, Daiwa supported us for filming and all different things. So we were well into using Daiwa gear. And I loved it since I was a kid myself. So I said, look, you know, would you be able to make us a range of rods? And he's like, we don't, you know, we do OEM projects and we are a manufacturer, but what sort of thing are you thinking? I was like, we want to design our own. And then he changed. He was like, yeah, definitely, you know. Checked with Japan, that was okay, and give us a bit of an open book to start developing rods. So we worked with Dave McCauley and one of the head designers who's also called Dave.
Double Dave.
Those boys are different gravy, you know. We'd say, yeah, we want this on a rod, and they go, well, that won't quite work, mate. So yeah, we had an open book to design rods, and myself and Pem will never forget those days, because we learnt so much about carbon, the properties, how you can make changes, and how one little thing on a rod can affect everything else. It was such an exciting experience, from going from developing smaller plastic products to designing a fishing rod. And in the end, yeah, we probably got a bit carried away. We probably designed the very best rods we ever could. We built them with the best parts, like the Fuji guides, the Fuji seats, the best grade of carbon, the best cork handles. But we developed a rod that we'd really want to use, and it was, for me, that it was really special. And I know a lot of people say, which really hurts me, oh, it's just a tournament with Guru logo on, twice the price. It really isn't that. Daiwa are a manufacturer. They make and design fishing rods. Yes, they're in our market and they design brilliant fishing rods that we've all used and always wanted to use, but they allowed us to design our own range of rods. You know, and there was no like, well, you can't do that because we're doing it. It was like, you do what you need to do. And yeah, some aspects will cross over between the two rods, but we designed those from scratch. Learned a lot of lessons with the early samples, as you remember. But yeah, we finally got there with Aventus. So yeah, really amazing.
Does anything stick out in your mind when you were testing them? Any, like, did you break any? Did anything go severely wrong? Can you remember anything from testing?
I remember we were trying to, obviously, no one knew here. The only three people that knew about us doing rods was Damien, me and Pem writing. And the first samples come, and I said, right, we'll go somewhere where no one can find us so we can go and test them. Like, I didn't sleep the night before type. That's how sad it is. And we had one 12-foot feeder and one 11-foot waggler rod, I think. And it's the middle of winter, like ice on the water everywhere. I went, we'll go bods, but we'll go in the sanctuary where no one can find us. It's waterlogged. Would be really tough fishing.
Boddington Reservoir.
Boddington Reservoir, out the way, middle of winter. Chances are we're not going to catch anything. So we took what we thought at the time was the best equivalent rod, a couple of samples to compare it against our sample, see how well we were doing. And like the walk to the swims, it was so muddy and everything. We took minimal gear. I remember getting there sweating like mad, so excited to use the rods. Pem got his box in the water, I got my box in. I said, I'll start threading up. So I started threading the rod up, and I slipped down the bank, and there's like they're like, it's like a metal tins in the bank there, and I slipped down the bank and snapped the end off the rod.
No. Before you'd even chucked it out.
Bearing in mind it was a feeder rod as well, so we had like a waggler rod and then everyone else's feeder rod. So they're going, well, maybe like we could fix it. Oh, it's so embarrassing. And Pem had travelled like 3.5 hours to get here. I was like, yeah, bods, but it won't be ice free. We can go Boddington.
Love
like
it.
So we ended up sitting there fishing, putting a bomb or a feeder on the waggler rod, and then fishing with the other feeder rods we'd taken, and had to wait another 4 weeks for another sample.
Oh no! Hey, you got there.
We got there in the end,
mate.
but yeah, that really exciting project. But with rods, it just amazes me how tiny a change can make such a big difference to a rod. You know, which we're still learning now, still developing, still looking at new ranges of rods. But yeah, mega exciting, mate.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. Obviously, product development, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is probably the most iconic Guru product in terms of it being different and probably frowned upon a little bit to start with, but now unbelievably established in feeder fishing in particular.
Yeah.
The QM1 hook, and I know you've got a little story for me about this as well.
Yeah, the QM1, when I first saw it, I was like, that ain't going to work.
I looked at it and thought, that is not a hook.
Yeah, and obviously it come from Steve and Alex. Alex was quite innovative. when I used to fish with Alex years ago, we used to fish Larford in the winter, the Specimen Lake, and he was a bit like Paul, he'd never leave anything alone. There was always a better way of catching a fish. Stuff off the shelf weren't ever good enough. Even with his bait, you know, like, I know Steve's been a big fanatic about changing his bait and stuff, but with Alex, he was always tinkering. He used to use carp feeders, I always remember, and he used to literally twist them up. So
they're the old Drennan hook,
yeah, the old
aren't they?
Drennan carp feeders.
Yeah.
A great hook, never straighten out, but he used to bend them so you wouldn't even nearly be able to get a hook bait on them. And obviously, he'd hair rig or whatever he was doing at the time, single maggot fishing on a method, and his results and like the whole thing with Alex, at the end of the day, he hadn't lost a fish. You know, whereas a lot of people lost one or two, and you don't get many chances in the winter. He was brilliant at that. And I remember them talking about the QMs, and I think they'd been Naseby and had like a massive result on there, which is a tricky water. And we were at Whiteacres, and this was actually before I started, so I was still with Garbolino, still working in the shop.
So this is when he would just slip in you and I'd bit of gear.
Yeah,
saying,
and obviously we're chatting about it, and I was dead excited, always seeing, what new stuff you got on that. And it was the first year method feeder was allowed at Whiteacres, and he said, I've got these hooks, they're brilliant. And I was like, oh, right, yeah. Let's have a look. I looked at him, I was like, oh, yeah, cheers. Do you want a couple? And I was like, yeah, I'll have a couple. So he actually gave me 2. I was like, well,
oh, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, mate. I've got all these free hooks working for a blooming fishing company. You give me 2 hooks. So anyway, he went and practiced on Pollowing, I think. It was a Saturday we got there. I was more looking forward to the night out. But he went and had a chuck, and he was literally getting one a bung, never lost a fish the whole time. And I saw his rig and stuff, and it was just a normal set up as a normal hair rig, and you were allowed little mini boilies at this point as well. Hadn't used them very much, especially at Whiteacres. They hadn't been allowed, so you were allowed micro pellets, method feeder, and mini boilies. It was like a whole new place, Whiteacres. And I was really into my method feeder fishing at that time. Usually fishing like meat or a single dead maggot and that on the hook, an odd boilie, but I hadn't really got to grips with those. There was no wafters or anything like that. It was a rock hard boilie. And I thought, well, I'll give them a go. And went in the draw bag. I drew this. I think this was like day 4 of the festival. It's my first opportunity to get them. I'd been on pole pegs or pegs that didn't suit the style of hook. And I drew at Belingi. I drew old peg 20, which was like a renowned method. Well, it's not a renowned method peg really, but it's a renowned peg where you're going to catch a load of fish.
Yeah.
And I thought, shall I use them or not? They were size 12, so they felt massive. Do you know what I mean? And like I'd been using like a 16 B911 or a carp feeder in a 14 maybe. So this was an odd hook to use, and I tied them up and they looked bang on, to be fair. The bait sat perfect, but I just couldn't get my head round that there was nowhere for the fish to be hooked because the hook was so bent over and so rounded. And so I knew I was on a good peg, so I thought, wow, if they don't work I can whip it straight off. And it was all inline feeders then, so I just had like a quick change bead on. I thought I'll put it on. Cutting a long story short, I had 60 carp.
Wow.
Start to finish, front to back of the match on a method feeder. I had a little quiet spell, like sort of an hour before the end, but I just kept plodding along, and I ended up on 60 carp, and I caught them all on one hook.
One of the 2 hooks that
hook,
he'd given you.
Yeah, one hook.
Never blunted, never
No,
bent.
I foul looked a fish, and it sort of felt like it had gone a bit out of shape, but I got the old Stomfo tweezers and give it a little squeeze, and it was fine. It was a bit more shiny afterwards because these were PTFE coated, which was quite rare back then in the early days. And they were like unbelievable, and you knew how good they were because when you got the fish in the landing net, for the first few, I was thinking, wow, I'm going to get this hook out. There's no shank. So once you'd sort of worked out how to get them out, they come out like a piece of cake. But yeah, literally, I had 60 fish, and I lost one foul looker. That was it. And that, like on the first, I couldn't believe it.
And has the hook changed at all since then?
No,
obviously
it's
that
the
was
same,
a sample.
It's the same hook, exactly the same hook. So even the specs that I send off to the thingies today are from 2009. So that hook hasn't changed at all. But the next day, so bearing in mind I got 2 hooks, it's the last day of the festival. I had 298 pound at Belingi, which was my biggest match weight. So I'm sold. That's it. All I want to do now is chuck a method feeder with a QM1 on and a boilie in here. Anyway,
it's great. You know, if that were me, I'd have definitely got broke or bent it or snapped it off. It's unreal that, isn't
I was
it?
fishing light as well. I was fishing like 022, I think,
Animal.
engage hook length as well. So, but and then the last day of the festival went to Match Lake. So I was hoping for a draw on the high bank, and I usually got on the high bank, to be fair, and I drew my favourite peg 25, which was like the perfect method feeder peg for me. And had my old mate Tommy Pickering drew on me left. So I thought this be interesting because he's mustard at this sort of style of fishing. And I got the old hook out again. I got a fresh one in the bag, all tied up, but I got the old hook out. I thought I'll start on that, and when that's knackered, I'll put the other one on. I mean, usually on Match Lake, it was like 20 fish you'd win the lake. So, but yeah, I ended up catching 39 fish.
Carp?
Yeah, 39 carp on that same hook.
Never.
Again. And I never changed it the whole day, I swear down. So that hook caught 99 fish, 99
That's
carp.
crazy.
Yeah, and I was sold. And that was where my love for the QM1 come. And that was a 12 at the time. And then obviously when we got the other sizes, I used the 14 for many years. Really liked it, loved the size. The strength and ratio to it all worked perfectly for me. But yeah, amazing hook.
So, Roon, we've referenced a lot your team, your people around you, the gang at Guru, etc. But something that I know you get asked about a lot, again, is what do you look for in employees? Because it's something you've done a lot of recently, taking on new people as the brand's grown, and I'm sure it's something you're going to be doing quite a bit in the future. So, as brand manager, what kind of people are you looking for? How do you decide, I'm having him, I want her, that kind of thing?
Just ones that are good at making tea, really. No, I'm joking. I think I'm quite a good judge of character. And obviously I keep quite an eye on what's going on out there, who's producing what, and go from there, really. I mean, we're quite a small team still. Like in product, it's just me at the moment, working alongside Chuckle. We've got David McCauley as well now. And then in design, we've got Robbie Taylor, the Ledge.
Beautiful man.
And then
Best looking man in fishing.
I don't know. Rimmer's pretty good looking.
Yeah, that's true.
And then we share CAD and designers and photographers and stuff. So we've got Mick, Dalton and Wolfie, Rich, and then obviously Tom Wager works alongside Bob's in graphics and that as well, and there's Callum. So there's lots of crossover people between the two brands, but the main Guru is a very small party of people. And then on the media side, we've got you, for all my sins, Frankie, Gino Gianelli, and Alex Rimmer. Yeah, so we've got a team, but it's I don't know how it happens, but people just become available or come about, or the brand progresses and all of a sudden there's a space for this person and they fit in quite well. I don't know what it is, but we seem to get the right people. We don't have a very high turnover of staff, and it's the same for Cordra as well. I think you either are part of the family or not, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think because we always look to involve people that are skilled, but not necessarily the best in the skill, but they're rounded as anglers. You know, it's always important that you're a fisher person or a fisherman, and that you're capable and you're aware of what you're going to be getting into. So for me, for employees, for example, I mean, when I saw you busking that day on the side of the road, I just felt sorry for you. So I thought I'll give you a job. See how you got on, and look at you now.
There we go.
It's like some wannabe Ed Sheeran, isn't it?
I've even had a shave look.
No, I mean, difficult to say. You get a feel for people, and like an interview stage. I've got a funny story about you, actually, before you got a job.
Go on, fire away. Got to hear this.
Ali will probably kill me for this, but we're real, I'll tell you. So basically, Guru's always sat off the back of Corda for social media and stuff. So for the first, I don't know really, how many years, maybe 6 or 7 years, I was totally reliant on Corda producing our content, and, you know, helping us out with films and stuff like that. Not the major films like Fishing Gurus, because obviously Ali bossed those, and we use professional outfits and stuff for those, for the TV stuff. But for sort of like just daily content, magazine features and bits and bobs, we sort of begged, borrowed and stealed from Corda. Like Elliot Gray, Rich Stewart used to do stuff for us, and then we did get a lad called Ben Hervey Murray, who is an absolute legend. He lives out in California now, teaching people how to sea fish. So he's got life of Riley, can understand where he left, really. But yeah, he wasn't. He sort of didn't really fit the bill because we're all very crazy and 100 mile an hour. Ben was dead chilled out. But at the time, he was perfect. He helped us out. He brilliant at the written word. And obviously, when he left, it was like, we really need someone now to get to grips with this. I mean, our social content with the help from Corda was brilliant as it was. And then it was like trying to find the right person. So I used to look on Facebook and used to look at different places who was doing good stuff. And there was one person that used to make me laugh quite a lot, and that was you and Scully, the bagging bros.
Me and Tom Scully.
Yeah, you and Tom, Postman Pat. I used to love watching your stuff. Really funny. But, you know, behind it, you had a lot of substance. You were both really good fishermen, but you made the most of it. You had a laugh. And Damo was like, you found anyone for this job yet? And I was like, no, it's really difficult. I said,
you didn't advertise for the job?
No, we didn't. No, I said, there's 2 lads that I would like to talk to, but I don't know if they fit the bill. I think they'd be great. And anyway, I think I was driving to a Daiwa trade show. Ali on the phone. Ali picks up. He went, Damo's just sent me this video from the Bagging Bros. He went, are you serious? You want to interview these two? I'm like, no, you got to look back. Are you mad? I was like, just give them a chance. Give them a chance. I've got a good feeling about this. And obviously, you both come for an interview. And, you know, you got the job. And here you are now. And the media's a little bit better than it used to be. And then obviously we built on the team with Frankie. You know, Frankie was heading up the Preston stuff and doing a fantastic job. His work ethic was really good. And obviously I really wanted him, so we did steal him. I didn't mean to steal him because I love Preston as well, but he fits in better with us than them. Plus he was dating your sister at the time.
Yeah, that's true. And Rimmer's come along as well.
Oh yeah, we've got Alex Rimmer. Yeah, Alex actually come for a job at Corda, but he was, fair play to him, he was brutally honest in the interview. They were looking for someone that was knew a bit more about carp fishing. I don't think Alex is even big carp fishing, but Alex is mainly an editor, but he does great features and stuff for us. And when we were looking for an addition to the team, you said, oh, this Alex Rimmer's pretty good. And I was like, oh, I'm not sure. Send him out for a day out with me and Ringer. So we went to Boddington, didn't we?
Great.
And he come for the day, and yeah, we fell in love with Rimmer like we do today. I think a lot of it is just, you get a feel for people by just their personality and their drive for stuff. So for me, if someone's got drive and personality and they're decent people on the bank, you know, as much as you can find out, then I think you should always give them a chance. And yeah, we've been very lucky. Most of the time it's worked out.
I can remember when I came for mine, I loved it. It was like a day out. It was like chatting to you, chatting to Damo. I'd never met Damo
before.
You
for your first ever Nando's.
You had my first Nando's. We don't have them up north, Toe.
Mate, you are so northern, isn't you? You've never had a Nando's.
My first Nando's was on my interview day at Guru.
What'd you get? I bet you got like a butterfly chicken normal, no spice or something.
No, let me tell you what he had.
Yeah,
and he still does it to this day. What you having, Ads? Well, I'm going to have this. Yeah, I'll have the same.
I like that. I normally just copy the person in front.
Yeah, and I've seen him do it with others. What are you having, Frank? Yeah, I'll have the same.
It's a good way of trying stuff.
Cool, so what did you get?
Butterfly chicken medium.
Yeah.
I did.
Good job I didn't order shit with egg on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I can remember being sat in the interview, and I can remember Damo actually saying, you were there, Ali were there, and I can remember Damo and Ali were like, how do you respond to like criticism and people, you know, criticising your work and stuff?
Yeah.
And obviously gave them a reply. Really don't like it. No, I didn't say that. But and I also remember him saying, you know, and how do you respond to like banter and energy and, you know, because it's quite a, I suppose if you was a very quiet, timid person and you were thrown into our offices in the midst of the banter, it's quite incredibly brutal, but it could be quite a daunting place to be just put all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's a very fruitful place.
Yeah.
You know, it is professional, but we make sure we make the most of our time. Everyone's very high energy. There's lots of banter here. So yeah, it is quite intimidating. And I mean, that your interview for me, obviously there was a lot online for me in that, you know, I'm trying to get someone for a position that I don't know much about. You know, I know what I like and know what I can see, but obviously Ali is so educated and, you know, knows exactly what he wants from someone in that department that's going to do the job right. And I've sort of put you pair of plonkers forward, and I've got Ali, Damo, and then you two smiling like Cheshire Cats opposite. I'm thinking, please don't mess this up. Please don't mess this up. But you both did very well, didn't you?
Yeah. So I think the key is something that working with the likes of you, Ali, Damo, everyone really at Corda has taught me, and obviously I've employed it when we got Frank on board, got Rimmer on board, is if you can't do something, get somebody in who is really good at doing that job.
Yeah, that's it. You know, we're an up-and-coming company, you know, Corda are a lot more established than us, and we're growing, following their footsteps and a great business plan that they have. And yeah, there's no expense spared. It's like, if you need the right person for that job, you get that person, because you've got the very best then, and you know they're going to give you 100%, and you look after them, and you know everyone's treated the same here. You know, Dan and Damo make sure employees come first. So, you know, Tobe will even vouch for this. Everyone that comes here loves it, because it's more than just a job, and which is the very special part about it. You know, you get thrown in the deep end. When I first started, I couldn't really do anything on a laptop, and I know that's embarrassing. People would be like, "What, you're brand manager and you couldn't even do it on a laptop?" I couldn't really send a structured email, but Damo and Dan, they give you that opportunity to learn, and if you're willing to learn, you know, you'll go places, and they support you 150 million%. You know, when Frankie come, he worked very different to how we did. He was a churner. He was getting the content out there, and it was like, whoa, chill out, mate. Go and experiment, be yourself, and learn how to do things and do what you need to do. And they become better people and more rounded people. So I think it's, you know, it's a really good place to be.
I can remember you guys even saying to me, the words that you used is, it's like being on a university course as well as a job, because you are.
No, it absolutely. I can vouch for that absolutely.
And I thought that is exactly what Corda and Guru is. Like the skills that you learn along the way, and you just continue to do so. Even me now, every day,
it's something new, isn't there?
We're doing a podcast now. It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. So while we're talking about people, and how they're involved with Guru, similar to employees in a way, but different. Sponsored anglers. You must get endless messages. Can I be sponsored by Guru? Or even questions. How can I be sponsored by Guru? People want that association. Not necessarily just with Guru, and this must happen to brands throughout the fishing industry. What do you look for in the perfect sponsored angler?
Well, there's lots of different things, really. And again, it's a bit like employees. They come about, people, you know, grab your attention. You sort of find people in that way. But the main thing for me, the most important thing for me above everything else, is the personality of the person and how they are towards other people and how they behave. And that's not like, I don't want everyone to be perfect Peter, but, you know, growing up, you need to, you know, treat people the right way and be decent and be honest. And whether you're the best or the worst at something, if you're giving an honest opinion, you know, people will believe in that. And we have anglers of all different levels of ability. I mean, like Alex Rimmer, probably one of the best anglers in the world. You, get in there. Mind you, I think after lockdown, you've totally lost it. But no, you know what I mean. So you go from people that, like Steve Ringer, the cream of the crop, you know, you're probably not going to get much better.
Number one ranked in the world.
Down to anglers that are associated with the brand and sponsored, and we support them for many other reasons as well. You know, we do a lot of shows, we do a lot of stuff with bringing on the children, like Match Academy and events like that. So we need a lot of people we can trust. And we don't get through sponsored anglers. Once we've got a sponsored angler, they tend to stay. It's very rare they leave. Odd ones leave and stuff, but you sort of probably know they're going to leave because they don't involve themselves in the stuff we do. You know, that they're not forthcoming. You sort of find your way and you fit in. But yeah, the main thing for me is personality, in this day and age, say we're talking about a young lad's just asked me the question, how do I become a sponsored angler? It would be a decent person, be a nice person on the bank, look at advice from other people, do your fishing at whatever level you wish to start with. I think a club's always the best place to start for me. So learn in a smaller group, get good in that group, learn from those other people, and then move on to the open match circuit. Being able to do posts, little blogs and stuff like that is great. And obviously if you win a few matches along the way, then it's the perfect thing. And like some of our sponsored anglers ended up working here. Do you know what I mean? And that's how it is, and that's the way we like to do it. But I wouldn't say there was like a set path that you have to tick off lots of things. Make yourself apparent. Like when I was younger, I always remember Darren Cox from Garbolino. He was my first major sponsor, and I was chasing every match. All I wanted to do was be sponsored and fish for England and be the best. And Darren was just like, concentrate on what you're good at, enjoy your fishing most of all, and just keep being you, just keep being a decent person. And he supported me through all of that. And everyone that comes to Guru, I try and do exactly the same. The people that sort of want it all handing on a plate, they're not the type of people we'd look for. I mean, that's not being disrespectful, but a lot of people think, well, I've got a sponsorship, send me the stuff, let me go fishing, I'll promote it for you. But do something back. But be forthcoming, help out, be part of the team, be involved with shows, share ideas, and things like that. So it's just good rounded anglers that have got a little bit of personality and are willing to push forward, fit the bill quite nicely for us. Do you agree?
100%, mate. For me, personality, approachability, and having you want someone that anyone can come up and ask a question.
That's it. I mean, we've still got anglers from when Guru very first started, and people's lives change as well. People, and some of our anglers have done the same over the time. People put a lot of pressure on themselves. You're always going to get your Steve Ringer, who's totally dedicated to the sport, fishes at the highest possible level, and then you've got another angler that's sponsored and feels like he needs to be Steve Ringer to warrant his sponsorship. That's not true. That's not true at all. You need to be you and do what you can. We've had people that have had job issues, family problems. That's fine. Family comes first, doesn't it? You've put your effort in to get your sponsorship. Just carry it on, and when you can get back to it, and that's fine. And we're not pushy. But we've got quite a big team now. I think we've got 22, maybe 25 sponsored anglers, which I'd say is a lot. But I could never say, right, sorry, mate, you're not winning enough. You've got to go. You're all part of a Guru, and you have been for a long time. So people stay in are sponsored at different levels. But yeah, I think it's good to have a range of people as well, and a range of different abilities, because it's more relating to people at those levels. Yeah. People might get a bit intimidated by your Andy Bennetts, who are just like fish catching machines. But if they're out on a feature with me who don't catch very much, they'd probably relate to me a little bit better.
Well, while we're talking about you catching fish, mate, I obviously want to get on to you and your fishing.
It shouldn't take long.
Chucked a feeder out, caught a carp. Where did fishing start for Adam Rooney then? Forget about Guru now.
Yeah.
Guru's out of the way. We've done a lot of talking about that. So actual angling, you've done an awful lot from the very beginning. I know you worked at a renowned fishery.
Yeah.
Team fishing, Camasan Starlets, the England feeder team. We've got a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Where did all that start for Rooney?
For me, fishing, there was no one in my family that was really into fishing. So we used to go walking a lot in the Yorkshire Dales or the Lake District or whatever. And I'd be forever finding myself trying to get a stick to try and catch something out of the rivers or whatever we were walking. So I've always had an interest in fishing, but never really had anyone in the very early days that could sort of take me, or if fishing was on the telly, like John Wilson, glued. And then probably when I was about, I don't really know what age it was, I was a keen footballer growing up, and I put everything into football through school and stuff, and I got pushed at school, and I got to a decent level. I was at Aston Villa School of Excellence for quite a few years. Didn't progress from there. I was quite a small, not very tall now, am I really? But like at the age where you need to start bulking up and growing and stuff, I was just getting weaker and weaker. And I'd been fishing a few times. I used to go, there was a lad at school called Jordan Lishman. It'd be well weird if you listen to this because this was years ago. And he was a bit of a naughty boy. But we used to go for walking in a place called Daventry Country Park.
I've seen
and
it,
I always used to see him. I mean, he was probably only like 11, maybe 12, maybe a bit younger, I don't know. He was always fishing on his own there at a weekend. I'd love to go fishing. So I befriended him a little bit. A bit naughty, really, isn't it? Just his mates see if I go fishing with him. I said, I'd love to come fishing with you one day. And sort of started knocking about with him a little bit. And a few of us got together and went. And we started going. So it's probably, I don't know, 10, 11 years old. Just down to the country park. And we didn't really catch a great deal. We caught like an odd little tiny roach. But I was really keen on it. And my best friend, his name was Jonathan Plum. His dad always was fishing, and John would go, and they used to go on the River Sharnbrook at Sharnbrook and catch chub and stuff. And I was really wanted to go, but they never really. I didn't really want to ask because I was a novice, and they were like proper fishermen and that. So, I remember like one school holidays, this new pond had opened. Called Eden. It was a little tiny lake which had been filled with little tiny carp like that. And John Plum's dad said to me, "Do you want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." So I went fishing, and it was like a fish race. I think they had like 100 and something, and I was at about 15. Thought I was the best angler in the world, but I loved it, and that was me totally hooked. But obviously, it was always second to football at the time. And I remember I played for quite a good team, like a Sunday League team, and I started getting substituted, and things weren't really going great. And I remember coming home from a match and going to my bedroom and just like lying on my bed, bawling my eyes out because I knew it weren't happening. I weren't good enough, and it really hurt. Like I'd moved away from all the local teams, started playing for a team in another county, and with some really good footballers, and I weren't good enough. And I remember my dad coming up the stairs, and he had a maggot box with maggots in it. He said, "Oh, you got a few maggots left, let's go fishing." I'm like, my dad don't go fishing, he plays golf. And we went to Daventry Country Park, and I sat there and we fished, and we caught some fish. I remember my dad caught a pike.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa, it was great. And then that was it then. Football totally gone. Literally never went.
Almost that,
never
that one
played,
little moment.
Yeah, never played again. And literally my dad took me fishing every weekend, and then we found out that my uncle fished, and I really got into it. I'll talk about my uncle in a bit. That's my dad on the left with a nice carp, and that's my Uncle Bob, who's sadly not with us anymore. But he probably turned me into the angler that I am today, really. I owe him a lot.
Is this Uncle Bob?
This is Uncle Bob, yeah.
This is Uncle Bob who... River Severn.
Yeah,
he told me some stories.
He lived on the River Severn, grew up around the area, and he built a house on the River Severn on stanchions.
Wow.
And at the bottom of the house was a platform with my peg and Bob's peg. And we used to fish outside there for barbel and whatever we could catch, eels, roach or whatever. And he was a massive influence without me even really knowing. So after school on a Friday, every other Friday, my dad would drive me to Worcester to spend the whole weekend with my uncle fishing. And this was before matches. And we used to do all different things. And he started off by taking me to like canals and stuff. And we'd do... He always made me do strange things. Like, we'd go on the canal and he had a pole, I didn't have one. And he wouldn't let me use it. He'd go, "No, you fish the Waggler." And you had to fish like... Have you ever fished the Droitwich Canal?
I've seen it.
It's full of like Norfolk reeds on the far bank. So imagine trying to fish a Waggler when you're a beginner. 13-foot float rod with a reel handle on the wrong side because I should be left-handed. I had to use it and learn how to use it on the right-hand side. He used to make me fish a Waggler up to the reeds, and there'd be tangles and everything. He was so patient, but he was teaching me how to cast to like a reed bed without me even knowing. And then we'd have one day on a natural, so we'd go on a river or canal, and then we'd go to Woodlands View or somewhere like that on the Sunday for a day, and it was just amazing. He used to like a glass of red wine on a Saturday night.
Did he really?
Yeah. And my uncle was quite wealthy at the time. He had a big posh BMW that he just used to park on the drive to annoy the neighbours. And his fishing car, we used to go fishing in the BMW, but then he brought a little Fiat. And I thought, why you brought a Fiat? You know, you got a lovely house and you brought this crap. On a Saturday night, he used to like a few glasses of red wine. I was only probably like 12, 13, maybe a bit older. And he'd go in the morning, right, you're driving. He used to make me drive down the canal.
Love it.
And stuff. I didn't even have a licence or nothing.
Fantastic.
You're right, lad. But he taught me how to drive. And he used to do things like we'd go to a venue, go, right, you're fishing the feeder today, or you're fishing the float today. And he'd make it difficult for me. He used to really annoy me, thinking why he sat there on his pole, enjoying himself. He used to make me do things, but he was training me. And at the same time, I started working in a fishing shop as well, which was really fun. I just started senior school, so what's that, 11, 12? I'm not very good at ages. But yeah, I started working in a fishing shop on a Friday night after school. So I used to walk home with my mates, being like Jack the lad from school, a few girls knocking about, and then I used to have to sneak off to go to the fishing shop without anyone noticing.
Brilliant.
And I'd go to the fishing shop in my uniform and spend the whole evening cleaning the bait for the morning. So I worked for a guy called Ken Silverlock, and it was Trinder's Tackle. A bit later on there, the manager was Royston Spencer, who you will know.
Yeah,
he was my
Royston.
boss. But we'll get on to that. So used to go fishing a bit with my uncle. Working in the tackle shop, it's all going to plan. So I used to work Friday nights in the fishing shop till about 8. Ruined my uniform, you can imagine it. Bronze maggots, your shirt, and the bleach from the bait and that used to knacker my trousers up and that. My mum used to go ape, like take a spare pair of trackies to school. No way. Just I'm going straight to the shop and straight home. And then Saturday mornings I used to clean cars. And then Saturday afternoon I used to go back to the fishing shop to help out in the afternoon for free. They had my time for free. and that's where it led on from. So this was around, God, I'm really rubbish with things, but I was probably early teens. And Trinder's Tackle, Ken Silverlock, he was a pretty amazing guy, really, when I look back. Not a lot of people liked it. Well, they did like him, but he was a very angry man.
Right.
Stressed,
Fiery.
very stressed. The shop was always a state, and it used to bug me. We'd always try and tidy it up, but he was like quite innovative. He was like one of the first to bring bloodworm to the UK. He used to swap bloodworm for Shimano reels.
Wow.
And he used to take maggots from the UK to Belgium and places like that because our bait was so much better than theirs. And obviously you could only use white maggots over there. So he used to have massive fridges and stuff. And I got more and more involved. So I used to go with him, like I'd clean the maggots on a Friday, and then like if it was school holidays, I'd go to Belgium with him in the car and stuff to help deliver the bait. And I met lots of people and lots of different things, and fishing started progressing. There was a little Trinder's fishing club where we used to go around, and then Ken and his business partner, Dick Stafford, and they brought some land and they were going to build a fishery, and they built a real famous commercial fishery, one of the first as well, if I remember, Hayford Fishery. So yeah, they built that, which was a 124 peg snake lake, which ended up as like one of the biggest fisheries and used for some like major events in the time. And they had a tackle shop in Daventry, which is where I worked, and then they had a tackle shop on site on the thing. Well, it didn't go straight there actually. It was like a porter cabin where you could have a breakfast and stuff. But obviously I was quite into going between the two places, and yeah, luckily to be involved with fishery, you learn loads. And yeah, I started fishing matches then. So they had a little fishing club called Trinder's Euro Tackle, it was called, and they had matches at Hayford. And then I met a guy called Mick Turner, who's a good friend of mine, Bunsen Burner. He like a shout out.
Lovely bloke, I
yeah,
know
he is,
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Royston Spencer. Royston basically took over the Daventry shop as the shop manager when Ken was concentrating on the fishery.
Yeah.
And the fishery shop. And we also had a shop in another town which Dick managed in Northampton. So obviously I worked for Royston then, and I used to work all day Saturday. I dropped the car cleaning job, used to work in the shop Saturdays, and then we used to fish on Sundays. And Royston and Mick were part of a fishing club called Argos Fishing Club. They all basically previously worked at Argos.
Right.
And they had a great big fishing club where I probably cut my teeth at match fishing, really. Met some amazing, wonderful people, really helpful. And again, just, you know what it's like when you learn, you just want to take everything in, don't you?
It must have been great working on Hayford, because I've never been to Hayford, and you always say you're going to take me when we're passing and show it to me, because it's still there, I think.
I'd love
the
to
lake,
go back and see it. Yeah, well, then it's the garden centre in Daventry leased the fishery.
Yeah.
And I see the results and stuff, and the fishing's changed a lot now. I think the clientele they get there and that love sort of like roach fish. There's some massive roach and different fishing there, but I still think there's plenty of carp.
We should go and have a go.
Yeah, it's an impressive place.
Well, obviously, when I go on World Champs, I travel with Will Raisin, and Will talks about Super League finals at Hayford, and all of them boys, Darren Davis, Simon Wilson, like loads of people talk about Hayford fishery as like one of the places a lot of people cut the teeth.
Yeah, well, it was such a big like because it was snake shaped, it could hold such great events, and the fishing was like amazing. It started off as small carp and they soon grew. He had golden orph in their tench and everything, but they're quite innovative. They created a totally different shaped lake, and to get the most people in such a small place, and it was an amazing place to be, really, and great to be part of. As time went on, I was desperate to get in that shop there at Hayford. So in the end, the Daventry shop, Royston moved on, I think Royston got married and left and moved to Wales, and Ken moved to the fishery, and that was the main shop in the end. And I've got quite a funny story, actually. And I used to work there as much as I could. Whatever event, I used to do tuitions on the kids' lake just so I could be there all the time. Yeah, just wanted to be there all the time. Fished every single match. Like, I used to fish the Super League practices and stuff. I got loads of memories, loads of stories. I remember on the practice match drawing next to Kim Milson.
Amazing.
I
never met Kim.
Yeah,
but what a legend in match fishing.
Unbelievable. And I'm probably like just at the end of my school life or whatever, drew next to him. He's head to toe in the Drennan gear, like Team England gear and Essex County gear. Just like, oh my God. And he drew a peg called 16, which was on a bend, and I drew, I think, 18, which weren't as good. But anyway, he absolutely pulled my pants down, had it away. And I went up to him afterwards, like I would do to the lads at the Argos Club. How'd you catch him, mate? You know, cheeky little teenager, cap on. And he was like, if I tell you, I'll have to kill you. I was like, oh.
Like that, is it?
Yeah, all right then. So fair enough. But he was nice with it, and he showed me his floats and what he was doing, but he never told me what he was doing. And I'll tell you just the end of a little story of Kim. A few years later, there was him and Nuddy and Billy Reynolds, and they were fishing for Essex County, it would have been at the time. And it was a Saturday match, and I won the match. I weren't anywhere near Kim, and I won the match. And I was fishing dusty meat in silly bait at the time, and I drew peg 75, I think it was. And
that's when you used to sprinkle ground bait on your meat, innit?
Yeah, so you just used to put like dry silly bait, which was like the revolutionary ground bait at the time, on cubes of meat. And I used to pot it across, and I used to fish a double cube on the hook. That was the thing. And I used to use a Mick Wilkinson. He made us these floats. They were called Mick Meats or something really weird. And he used to write on them, "Dear Mr. Carp," and that to me as a laugh. And I used to use those floats, and they used to sit. But there was only a few pegs where I could get across with the pole I had, and 75 was one of them. It's quite narrow. And I think I won the match with like £49, which seems really low, but it was a big weight back then. And I remember Bill, I was quite pally with Bill, Billy Reynolds.
Bill Reynolds.
Yeah, he was like my hero. He was like one of the first people that I used to love watching on those big matches, because he was so approachable again.
One of the gurus now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is one of our gurus, granddad, we call him. And Will, his son, he's part of the team as well. But yeah, and I remember them all standing on the bridge. The bridges used to divide it up. And I was walking back with my boss box on my shoulder, happy. I thought I'd won the match, going past. And it wasn't actually Kim that said it, but they were all standing on the bridge. And Bill went, "How'd you catch, Ads?" And I said, "If I tell you, I'll have to kill you." And carried on walking up, thinking I was some nuts. So I was surrounded by really good fishermen from quite an early age, and very lucky. We used to have visitors to the shop as well, bringing bait. Like Frank Barlow and Dean used to come and used to spend like hours chatting to Dean about fishing. My whole life was just fishing, and every other weekend I'd be off to my uncle's and we'd go and fish matches on the canal or on the river. You know, and I just love spending time with
it. Sounds to me like you got a real good all-round ground in rivers, canals, Hayford Fishery, one of the first commercials, a right mix of venues and different kind of anglers around.
And commercials were quite new then. So, like, you know, there was Hayford and Woodlands View at the time, and they're two places I love spending time at. One, just to spend time with my uncle, really, and then obviously the lads from the shop and just some great people that spent the time and give the time to you to bring you on as an angler. And that's why like things like Match Academy are so important to me, to give something back, you know, that I had and was very lucky to have. But going back to the match fishing thing, I suppose really my first few years were like club matches with Argos. I think I managed to win the league once as well as a teenager.
Awesome.
Which was pretty good. But again, it wasn't just my ability. I was learning from those people and drew a few flyers and bits and bobs. And then I went to fish with... can't remember how it happened, really.
Just sort of get picked up, don't
you? Yeah, you do. So basically, the Milton Keynes group were fishing at Hayford a lot. Hayford was like the place to be at weekends. And they were fishing there, and... a man called Phil Wintle, who's a great angler, spent a lot of time with through my youth years. He said, "Why don't you come and fish for Milton Keynes?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to." And that's where I went there. So I went from Hayford to a club, sort of open matches, and sort of getting involved with that to fish for Milton Keynes. And all of a sudden, you've got your own fishing jacket, your own sort of like I think we had Van der Nine or Sensors clothing at the time with Milton Keynes on it. It was really good. And started mixing with people like Michael Buckwalder, Phil Wintle, John Kent, Barra, some really good anglers, Ian Pretty and that. And then all of a sudden your fishing goes from being good at sort of little club level to fishing bigger matches and getting involved with that, which I absolutely loved. The team fishing side of things was where it really happened and made a difference to me. So yeah, I loved that. Spent many years at Milton Keynes, fished Division 1 nationals, intermediate nationals when we were junior with Martin Green and who's obviously Daiwa now. He was sort of like the god, you know. He was a few years older than me, winning everything, had all the best gear. Really like, wish I could be Martin Green today. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And learning from Michael Buckwalder, I'd like to say, like at this stage, for progressing and for someone that like Michael used to come all the way to my house to pick me up to take me back fishing 2 minutes from his house. You know, he was another great mate who taught me so much. And for me, Michael's probably one of the best there is out there.
He can do a little bit of everything,
and he does it so well, and he's not fazed by anything. But he taught me so much. And we used to go in a little group. We used to take this young lad with us called Ferret, who's actually about 7 foot tall now. But Michael helped us, and we all progressed as anglers really well, and you learnt so much. So yeah, that was it. Sort of Milton Keynes, still working in the shop, like full time at the shop now because left school.
What are you talking now? Early 20s?
No, probably 17,
18.
Yeah.
When did Starlets come about? Because obviously
Starlets was a bit later. Shall I tell you?
Go on.
I've got one thing to tell you which I've missed out. So anyway, obviously while I'm doing this, I am obviously going to college and stuff. Didn't probably excel as much as I would like to at college because obviously fishing was far more important than studying, and partying was quite good in them days as well, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Probably disappointed my mum and dad a little bit in those years because I wasn't putting the effort, because I worked hard at school and, you know, come away with some decent results, and then went to college and just sort of like probably drank and partied and just got by. But
no regrets then?
No. So anyway, I got my college results. They weren't as great as I was hoping. But I was working in a fishing shop at the time, and I was like, yeah, that'd do me. Anyway, my mum's like, come on, you really need to like book your ideas up, and you know, you've worked hard. Why don't you go for a decent job, get yourself some money, and then you can do something in fishing afterwards. I was like, oh, Mum, I don't really need to. She said, there's a job at the bank, 11 grand a year it is. I was like, right, where do I sign? This be easy. I'll go to the bank and then go fishing. I'm sure there's a lake. Anyway, it was at one of these banking centres where you basically input in information. And I didn't really want to go. But anyway, my mum says, oh, you can drive my car. So I just passed my tests like that, suit on, drive my mum's car to work. This is great. I'm going to be earning 11 grand a year, which was a lot of money back then, back in the day.
I can imagine.
So I remember going to the interview for the bank and stuff. Anyway, I cheated. There was like a test at the start and I cheated. So basically on the front of the paper, it said, you will not be marked for any wrong answers. So anyway, so I thought, right, we've got half an hour for this. It was only like a little test thing. I'd got the job because my mum worked at the bank, so I knew I was going to get the job. So she put in a good word for me. So doing the test. Anyway, I got halfway through. I thought, this is boring as hell. The questions were like, it was like being back at school. It was so bad. And I hated maths anyway. Anyway, it said, you will not be marked for any wrong answers. And this booklet was thick. You were never getting to the end of it. So I thought, I'll take pot. Look, it was multi-choice, 4 choices in each. I just ticked the whole book. Just went through and randomly ticked it and sat there like twiddling my phone. Got the job. Thought, brilliant. So start next week. Mum, all right, borrow your car. Yeah, she brought me a suit from Top Man. I was well away. Anyway, gone in this thing and it's just like a room of people sitting at individual desks. And you got basically a pile of checks that you had to input onto the computer, and I'm like, oh my god! So
Not
anyway,
Adam Rooney, that is it?
I wanted to chat to everyone in the room, like, anyone go fishing? I putting these in, getting them wrong all the time, and it kicked you out if you got the number right. It was a massive long number, and I got it wrong half the time, and I wasn't very quick. Anyway, so at lunchtime I decided to drive home.
On the first day?
Yeah, never went back. Took the suit off, went down the fishing shop. And I said to Ken, he went, where you been? I went, oh, I've been to work. He says, what you work? He says, why don't you come and work here full time? And I was like, well you know, he says, I'll pay you $5 grand. I went, yep, right, I'll start tomorrow. $5 grand a year I started on.
Honestly?
Yeah.
Wow.
But to be fair to Ken, I know this is going backwards, but he, I got $5 grand a year, but he never charged me for any bait, any tackle. Like, obviously, I didn't go and out myself to poles and stuff, paid for that, but he just really looked after me. And he was quite a tight man. You know, a lot of people moaned at him for being tight and like his point made, oh, that ain't a point of maggots, you know what I mean? Give him a hard time. But, you know, he passed away a few years ago, well, last year I think it was, but he was such a good person to me again, even though he was quite harsh and brought around, and he used to like have a go at me in front of people. He was nice to me, do you know what I mean? And he allowed me to progress. So yeah, from Milton Keynes, obviously I'm working in the shop at Hayford. I was running the shop at this point. I was shop manager.
Wow.
I think I was on about $5.5 grand a year. No, I was on a bit more, but not a lot. Driving, so the world's your oyster sort of thing. And Ken was in the office. He used to sit in his chair, pretend he was doing work, but he was usually he was into houses and buying houses and thinking of ways of making money.
Got quite a bit of other stuff going on.
So he'd be like doing that, and I'd be doing whatever in the shop, keeping it nice and walking around the fishery. And I remember him picking up the phone going, oh, hello, Mark, how are you? And I'm like, who's that? And it was Mark Downs, rang the shop. He goes, oh, is Adam there? And I was like, yeah. And he put me on the phone, and I'm like, hello? And he goes, oh, you've been doing really well at Hayford and that, and obviously on the canal and stuff. He said, would you be interested in joining Starlets? I was like, what? And I was really good mates with Richie Hull at the time, who was like a key member of the Starlets team, obviously friendly with Darren, and that, and yeah, I joined Starlets at probably 20, I think, 19, 20.
What a group of anglers to be surrounded by.
It was unbelievable.
Who were there at the time then? Was the Sean Ashby?
Yeah, there was Sean Ashby,
Cian Wardle,
Paul Downs, Mark Downs, Darren Cox, Simon Fry, Richie Hall, Dave Hinton back then.
Was Scott Jeans there then?
Scott was there, yeah. Well, Scott come a bit later. Scott come after. Who else? I think Dave Arrow was knocking about. Yeah, some like I've probably forgot loads.
Adi Whittle
was there, yeah.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Armour Joward, Martin Green was there as well. Yeah, it was like phenomenal. Like when you went to a meeting, you was like, how the hell am I ever going to get in a team here? And it took time to get into the A team and stuff. And there was a lovely guy, Keith, who's like always been Mark's right hand man, and he was such a great bloke. And he always give you time of day, and he was sort of my way in really. appreciate what I was doing, realise what, you know, the effort I was putting in, and he helped me progress there quite a lot, so it was good. And with Starlets, again, we got like Division 1 national medals. I think I got gold, silver and bronze while I was with them. What else did we do? Super League finals. Obviously struggled to beat Dorking most of the time, but we come second. But I won it in 2006. It was at Woodlands Thirsk, and I won.
North?
Yeah, I won the individual. So I was on joint points with Will Razor, 2 firsts. So I won my section both days, and I just won it on weight as an individual, which meant
Phenomenal.
nothing. Which meant nothing because it was a team event, and we just got pipped by Dorking. So it was a bit of a.
That was the event now back then.
Yeah, the
Brennan
Super League final
League.
was where it was at, really, and that's where you saw everyone as well. That's where you got to fish against Alan Scott Thorne, Steve Ringers, and Will Raisins and stuff like that. And I remember the first day of that event, we'd been there practicing all week, and there was like the carp lakes, and you know what Downs is like with carp. Not interested, is he?
No.
He'd sit on your box and go, I've catch some roach. And we did quite a lot of practice on the carp lakes, which the likes of Richie Hall, really innovative at the time, fishing meat and baits like that, Darren and Simon Fry. And we learnt loads. And then there was some lakes there where there was a lot of silverfish, and it was roach fishing shallow, which, if you know me, that's... I enjoy that type of fishing, but at the time I had my commercial carp head on.
You'd rather have a piece of meat on, wouldn't you?
Big bit of meat ligging for a proper fish or stuff, yeah. And I remember training on that lake, and we'd have a lineup, and Downsy was so quick at catching silverfish, so he'd make the session about catching silverfish shallow, like that. So anyway, we went through, and I don't think anyone beat him at a 1 to 10 at catching these roach shallow. And me and Dan Ashington at the time were fishing short and catching like tench and skimmers off the bottom, but they were big fish and they were being ignored a little bit. So the plan was for the first day, which was silverfish only, if you remember, would be to catch roach as much as you can, and then have a little look down the edges and try and catch some bonus fish like barbel and skimmers and stuff like that. And anyway, we did it, we sorted it, we caught fish, we were dead happy as a team, we're doing really well. We just needed to draw. And on the first day, I drew my peg, and I didn't really know where it was, and it was actually an M peg. Would it be Woodpecker Lake or something?
Wagtail.
Wagtail.
Wagtail,
It was an M
yeah.
peg. So I got there, round there, thought, oh, brilliant, M peg, I've got a chance. I ain't got to fish for roach shallow. I might catch them down the edge. That's all I was thinking of.
Nice.
I could catch the roach, but, you know, like if someone like, you know, one of the good silverfish anglers was next to me, I weren't going to beat him. Anyway, Des Ship turned up next to me, didn't I? I was like,
Never.
oh, for God's sake.
Next peg.
Next peg. So,
And obviously he's Dorking at the time.
Dorking, yeah,
Dale
absolutely, like rinsing every match he's on. Like, bit of a god, bit nervous next to him. And anyway, Downsy's like, oh, I'm running the silverfish lake, like the little lakes today, not on the big lakes. Like, oh no, I'm gonna have to set up some roach
It'll be on your
rigs.
shoulder.
Yeah. So anyway, I was right in the corner. I could see him. Like, there was a little pathway through to 2 lakes, and I think it was Kian Wardle was on the other lake, and I know he big mates with Kian, so I thought I'd spend a bit of time with him and hopefully leave me alone. So just going through the match quickly on the Saturday, I thought, well, I'm going to struggle to beat Des here, but I've got a bit of room. I'm on the end peg, so it's gone shallow straight away. I've caught a few, but like Des is catching like 2 to my 1. I'm like, fucking hell, this is embarrassing. Anyway, for some reason I thought I'm just going to have a look short. I'm end peg, they're going to be there. I've gone in, it's like clonk, 4 pound tench, clonk, great big skimmer, clonk, barbel.
Yes.
Des is moaning. I'm winning. Des, fucking impact. So like that, while he's shipping his roach back, my white hydros across the pool. All right, mate. Anyway, I've caught a few instantly, and you know what it's like when you nick a few. It goes a bit quiet, so I potted in again. Guess who walks through the blooming entrance? Downsy. And everyone's fishing for roach shallow, and I'm there on a top get going, please go under, please go under, please go under. Anyway, he's about 3 pegs away, and I'm feeling the tension. And he's coming, and like, Des,
you know what he's going to say, don't you?
Yeah, Des is catching one a chuck like that. Anyway, I just peeked up like that just to look. I thought, oh God, he'd stopped at someone, and I could hear him. And I think he was moaning about me to a bloke 3 pegs away. Next thing, like, I've looked away, looked back, my float's gone, when it's gone across the lake. And he's come down, he's going, bloody carp that, innit? And I was like, no, it was another tench, about £4. He just walked off.
Left you to it.
Yeah. And in the end, I think I won the whole match on the Saturday as well. I'd like £58, literally caught fish short and some barbel down the edge. And the next day was a carp match. And again, I drew like near the end, one off the end, and I had a lovely day. I think I just beat Ben Leach by a couple of pound to win my section again. And Starlet's come second and Dorking won it that year. So yeah, it's really good.
That was before my time.
Before your time, yeah. You weren't about then. It was I was the young one then.
Yeah.
I was the really young one. I think people, there were some great anglers. Just trying to remember them all. I mean, like Will was always the Mecca.
Will and Grant and Grant
I watched
Albert.
Will from Hayford days, and the difference with Will Raisin then, there was lots of big matches, lots of people fishing. Mark Pollard, he was like, oh God, back in them days, amazing. But when Will come to Hayford, he turned it on its head, how he caught fish and how he fished. He was just like different level. He used to wear a no fear cap. He was sponsored by Seal Star. He was just like, that was who you wanted to be when you were older. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Well, I know from, obviously we've talked about commercial fishing, Woodlands and the Drennan final there.
Yeah.
From that, is that what led you towards Whiteacres and that kind of fishing? Because
Yeah,
you spent a lot of years down there. I remember reading about it, seeing you. I went when I was 14 to Whiteacres for the first time, and you were there then, and you wouldn't have had a clue who I was. Then I used to go with my mum and dad and stay in a caravan, and I'd be like, on like a family holiday, and I'd be playing on the arcades upstairs, and I'd be like, that's Adam Rooney. I've seen him in magazine.
He's terrible at angling. So from that, when I joined Starlets, and to be fair, before that, when I used to fish the Super Leagues, there was two people that really stood out: Kieran Rich and Richie Hall, two Richies. Kieran I was just obsessed with because he was a young angler at the time. That I used to fish moorlands for Woodlands View. And he was just brilliant there. And then you'd go on the river and he'd absolutely destroy the river. He was, top of the tree with Grant and anglers like that. So I really looked up to him. So on the Super Leagues, when they're all at Hayford, obviously I'm the busybody young kid helping out. And they'd always chat to me and spend the time. And Richie Hall, who's probably is one of my best friends, and always will be in many aspects. He's just a great guy. I used to go and watch him. I used to get dropped off at his house so I could go fishing with him just to watch him. And I learnt so much from Rich. He was the most positive angler you'll ever meet. And we used to fish, obviously, Starlets and practice together. And then he's like, why don't you come to Whiteacres? He'd just started going. And you couldn't get on. You could not get on at Whiteacres.
It was like a closed
You had to wait for
book,
someone to die.
Yeah.
And at that time, no disrespect to how it is now, but every single person in your section was capable of winning the festival. It was that, and it was all new as well. The thing with Whiteacres, it was new, it was different. So there was no experts in the field. You had to be such a rounded angler to do well that, one day, like, you've got someone catching fish at Porth and the next day they're on a carp lake and that's not their forte. So there was a big mix of anglers and lots of new people coming. So it was the place to be, really. All the names were going there. I think the Midlands where I lived, they were a little bit late. It was more Southerners and sort of like London people going there. And then eventually, obviously, the news was getting through that everyone was going. And Rich phoned me just out of the blue and he said, what are you doing this weekend? I went, working and then probably going Makins or somewhere fishing. And that he goes, do you fancy coming Whiteacres? And I was like, what, this weekend? He was like, yeah, you only need like 300 quid ads. I was like, 300 quid? I'm on $5,000 a year here.
He's talking about going on the festival.
Yeah, so he was, and at the time, I think it was a census festival. Anyway, I spoke to my boss and he was like, yeah, you must go. That's the place you need to go now. So he was like, right, brilliant. So I booked on and down I went. And I went with Richie Hall, Gaz Stanley, who's another great mate of mine, and a lad called Calvin Lemon, who was a local down there. And Rich first stayed at Whiteacres with him. Rich just did anything he could do to get on. Never knew Calvin, but Calvin had a space in his caravan. I'm staying with Calvin. And we all become really good friends. And that first year on the Census Festival, that was when life changed. Like, you lived for Whiteacres then. For me, Whiteacres was, and there's nothing like it now. back then it was the place you had to be if you wanted to get recognised at fishing. I mean, even like Downsy, Joe Roberts, not their style of fishing, but they were there. Do you know what I mean? Everyone would go to Whiteacres because it was the place to be. And if you won one of them festivals, that was it. So like for years and years, I went for the Census Festival. There was a week gap and then there was 2 more festivals. I was on them too. And I think I fished every festival then for maybe 10 years.
Incredible.
Like 5 festivals a year, and then we'd go down for the Silverfish Festival as well. I couldn't miss it. I'd give up everything and just to be there. And a lot of the times didn't have like 2 pennies to rub together. You were hoping for a good peg on the first day to win your section to pay for the week.
Love it.
And that's how it was. But again, if you want to learn how to catch fish, those places are the places to go because you learn so much in such a short space of time. And if you go for a couple of weeks, like, oh dear, that's an embarrassing picture.
Sorry, I've been dying to throw that up.
Look at me there.
We'll get onto that picture because that was one of the festivals at Whiteacres that I think you did all right on, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the 2003 Preston Innovations Festival, which is it was like the week before the big festival, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I can't remember anyway. There's so many different
So,
ones.
Rose, how old were you there, mate?
I would have been only a couple of years ago, probably.
Yeah.
I think I was 22 or 23.
Wow.
Look at that, head to tail in Garbolino.
And for them listening, we've got a picture of Roon on screen. He looks an awful lot younger than he actually is.
I don't.
And he's got a net full of roach. What looks like Porth Reservoir.
Yeah, it was. So that was the last day of the Preston Festival. And I was going into the last day. I think there was 2 or 3 of us that could win the festival. Andy Lloyd, another amazing angler down from the south. He won a lot of festivals. There was Rob Brennan, another great
Rob,
starlet.
yeah.
Forgot about Rob. You know, he was a real key part of starlets as well. And then the usual gang were close on the tail, like your Kieran Richies, your Richie Halls, your Grants, your Des Ships, Stevie Sanders. You know, they're all there. And I've got to my peg the last day at Porth, and I need to win my section to stand a chance of becoming top 3 in the festival, and that would have been my best result. Before then, I think I'd had a couple of 4ths, which was good, but I was putting the time in. Do you know what I mean?
And experience must have spoken for a lot down there because, like you said, you've got Porth Reservoir roach fishing one day, you've got Pollowing down an arm catching skimmers the next day, you've got Twin Oaks big carp the day after. So the more you went, the better you must have got.
Yeah, you did, and you got in tune with it. The weeks I liked is when there was 2 weeks together, because by the second week you were so in tune, you know, and you had a whole week mixing with the very best anglers, and you just get in tune with it, and things just like this happen.
And what was it like winning a festival for the first time?
It was amazing. Again, I was only young. I don't know. I'd been doing all right. I'd got some top 10s. I'd managed a couple of 4ths, which is massive. It's 180 pegs, and you're fishing against some of the best. You know, like I always remember, like after the match of winning that, thinking, I know we weren't in my section, but I beat Will Raisin and people like that, you know, like Darren Cox and stuff. And on that last day at Porth, there was a guy that actually runs Belingi now, Andy Dare, was in my section. And he drew peg 16, which was probably... I was on peg 20 and he was on peg 16. So that was...
16's the end peg, isn't it, as you go down the ramp? Yeah.
And then obviously you got the other end, which was 24. 20 weren't ever a great peg. And to be honest, like people... advice from like Stevie Sanders, he'd won the section off 22 early on in the week with like 20 odd pound of roach on the pole fishing casters and stuff, and I just literally did the same. I set my stall, I'd give it like 10 minutes on the feeder, really wanted that to go round because that's my favoured method, and it didn't. It was like, oh no, I've got to fish the pole now. and fish for roach. And throughout the day, Andy Dare all day kept going, well, it's another great big perch, like making me hear it, and it just made me work harder. I thought, Jesus, God, he's probably got like £15. I've got to catch more. And I ended up with, I think there was £17 of roach, I think, for a like quite comfortable section win. I think second was £8. So you go from like struggling. Yeah, you know, it was meant to be sort of thing, but surrounded by that. But yeah, it was a great winning the festival. It was just like, it was life changing for me, really. That's all I'd ever wanted to do. And I'd had a little bet on myself, and you know, loads of my mates travelled down from the Midlands to celebrate with us for the weekend and that.
Well, I know that celebrating at Whiteacres and going out and having a little bit of a pint or two.
Yeah.
That were a big thing on it.
It was a massive part of it. Yeah. Today, it still happens, but not as much. There's too much at stake now. And fishing's very expensive, so people go to Whiteacres, and a lot of people go and know that they need to win a few quid to make it worth the while. And everyone wants to win. And
it's quite serious, mate,
yeah,
as well,
it is really serious. And even when I go now, I don't go out like I used to. But it was part of the culture.
What was it like? Give me an example. What was a typical week at Whiteacres?
So
what was a wild
I was just
one?
going to ask him what he did to celebrate.
Tobe, you would have been in your element. So a typical week at Whiteacres would be, if you can get the Friday off work, get the Friday off work, because we're going down on Friday night. Bearing in mind the festival wouldn't start on the Monday, so it's like, make your excuses to your girlfriend at the time why you had to go early to practice to make it worthwhile you're going. And so I'd meet Richie, or we'd drive down together on Friday night with Gaz Stanley in tow, and we'd go down on a Friday, and the first thing you do is go straight to the bar.
Nice.
And
not unpack your case or anything
and
like that.
there'd either be people from the festival that's just been on, but that wasn't usually the case because would have been on it, or there's holiday makers there. So a few beers at the bar, straight into New Quay, absolutely get messed up, drink so much, forget who you are, have the greatest night ever, and wake up the next day feeling like absolute crap. Spend the whole day trying to recover, usually down the cafe for breakfast, tie a few rigs. Saturday night comes, it's time to go out again. Go at the club, meet everyone that's there for the festival. Everyone used to turn up on a Saturday. You'd have Billy not there doing the bookie and having a great crack, and just so many good characters. And obviously Clint, who worked there, he'd be involved as well.
Clint Elliott, who still runs the festivals.
And Ben Goldring was there a lot. Who's one of my best mates. He'd be working either behind the bar or in the tackle shop. They seem to be working in every department. Yeah. But they'd always be on a night out. And so Saturday night you'd get absolutely wasted again, have a great night. And then Sunday it was like trying to sort yourself out for the start of the festival on a Monday.
You must have been in pieces by then.
Yeah, usually Sunday night was my night off, so the lads would sort of recover and end up back at the bar, because they used to do the section draw on a Sunday, so you'd know where you're going on the Monday. I never made it on a Sunday. I had this OCD, and which you'll know about, which affected my fishing in later times, that I had to be 100% prepared for anything. That was just my way of knowing that I'd done everything I could to put my best effort in. I mean, I used to sit on a seat box that was too tall with me because I had to take so many winders with me.
Too many rigs.
Too many rigs, yeah. My box was jammed full. And even if I was fishing and there was a rig missing, it would play on my mind.
Wow, that is OCD,
it's terrible. I was terrible for it. And Rich used to be like, make 3 up and get up the bar. And it was all about being social and interacting, and the entertainment, and the bar was buzzing all the time. So you'd do your draw Sunday night, you'd fish Monday, and then I think it was Monday night was Foster's. So it was
what's Foster's?
Foster's, everyone knows what Foster's if you fished the Whiteacres Festival. So there was a club which wasn't in New Quay, it was like on the way into New Quay, and it was a pub in the day and a restaurant, and underneath there was a club, and it was like cheap night, 70s, 80s, 90s music, and it was the busiest place you've ever been to.
On a Monday night?
On a Monday night. I'm sure it's Monday or Tuesday.
Wow.
So you'd go there Monday night, have an absolute ball. Everyone would go as well. Like now if you went, there'd probably be 10 people go. Then out of the 180, I bet 100 angles were in there. And there'd be all kinds of people in all kinds of messes, and we just had the best time. But everyone would be involved, and it was such a big part. And the next day you'd try and sort yourself out to get to your peg. But the matches never started till 12 o'clock.
Which is sensible for having a pint the night
So you could
before.
have a drink and still stay back, have your breakfast, sort yourself out. And yeah, I'm sure some days, well, I've been worse for it. I had to get a lift to my peg a few days. But I couldn't see. And but you'd go, and then it'd be Monday night, Tuesday night be a break, or there'd be someone doing something. So you'd either be out for a meal or round someone's lodge cooking, or big Tony Winnett used to have Chaz and Dave nights, which again, you weren't getting up sober from them.
I love Tony Winnett.
Oh, what a character.
One of my best memories at Whiteacres involves Tony Winnett and James Hawkins, right?
Jamie Hawkins,
I don't know if I can talk about this on podcast, but I'm going to tell you about this now.
Go on,
anyway.
tell us.
This was Whiteacres. I think I was like 18, 19. I was really young. Me and Tom had obviously been down on this festival. And all I remember is we were on the dance floor in Sailors in New Quay.
Yeah. That's where you went on a Saturday
Yeah,
night.
Saturday night. It was
Saturday night sailors.
And all I remember is I was dancing, and you're always trying to pull birds and that one. Yeah,
Probably not with your dancing.
Yeah. And anyway, Tom's disappeared. So you were probably there.
Probably laughing at you.
Yeah. Tom's disappeared, right? And I can't find him anywhere. And I'm looking, but there were loads of fishermen there anyway. And I looked at my phone, and all it said on my phone, I got a text off Tom, and he put "back at the lodge with the big un."
Oh, no.
And I'm like, all right, I know what's happened here then. So it was actually me and Frankie ended up staying out all night, and we got back to the top of the drive at Whiteacres, and it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's coming light, and we managed to find our way back to our lodge, thinking everyone's going to be asleep in bed. We were ready to like crash out and die. And as we've got closer to our lodge, you can hear this like buzz, music, voices.
Ribbit.
Yeah. Right, and we've opened our lodge door, and it's like party time in this lodge at like 3 a.m. And there's Tony had set it all up, and there's Tony Winnock,
Steve Clark probably.
Geldart, James Hawkins, Dent, like everyone, and Tom's obviously back there in back bedroom with this lady that he's found as well. But I can remember that was definitely big Tony Winnock.
Oh yeah, there was stuff going on all week, so it wasn't just fishing. It was party time as well, and that was why it was so good. It was like a holiday as well. Like we used to have North versus South football match. There used to be a football field there. You got like Steve Gardner playing football and people like it was just like it was just a bit surreal really, that everyone you saw in their natural environment, and then the day after, or the morning after, you're on the bank and it's like focused big competition time,
high level match.
And I mean, oh God, we got in some right states. I remember that. I'll just go back to a couple of funny stories on nights out. My first ever weekend at Whiteacres, I'd met Ben Goldring and his brother, and we'd been out, and we didn't want to go home. We wanted to stay. So Mark, his brother, great mate of mine as well, knew of this bar that would be still open. So like everyone else has gone back at 4 or 5 in the morning. We've gone to this bar. So these two live local, so they're all right. So anyway, we've got a cab back after it. It's like daylight, absolute daylight. Well, it wasn't. It was like dusk. And I've got back to the caravan park. They've obviously gone home. And I'm at Whiteacres Caravan Park. There's probably 8 million caravans. I don't even know what my name is. And I definitely don't know where I'm staying. So I thought, there was one light on. I remember it dead early in the morning, there was one light on. And I thought, God, that must be my van then, mustn't it? So I remember stumbling down to this. It was a long walk to this light as well. Got to the van, knocked on the door, and Billy comes to the door.
Never.
I went, "You right?" I went, "Yeah." I went, "I can't find my caravan." I said, "I'm sure it's round here somewhere though." He went, "You best come in." So I went in, and there was him, his wife Carrie, and another lad. I can't think of his name. Great laugh.
Right.
They were still up drinking.
Never.
Yeah, he said, "Do you want a drink?" Anyway, no. I'll have a cup of tea though. So I had a cup of tea and I thought, right, I need to. He says, "You're not even staying in a caravan, mate. You're staying in one of the new lodges." And I went, "Where are they?" He went, "They're just like, you need to go up there, dead round by thing." Anyway, so I've started walking back, sort of feeling a little bit more normal. So I thought now. Anyway, I walked by what they call Jenny's Lake, which is at the front where the lodges are. So there was hundreds of lodges now, and I'm like, no idea where I am. I thought, Richie must be up. He gets up at the crack of dawn. And I trod, like the pegs, they were like sand and gravel, weren't they?
Yeah.
And at the front, they collapsed a little bit. Didn't they? So there was water.
Yeah.
And I've trod in this by mistake, and my shoe hasn't come back out with me. So I left it, carried on walking. Anyway, I was like roaming around, and in the end, I remember finding like the bait boxes from, like the maggot trays from work under a can of. Oh, that's it. So I got there, no key, banging on the door. That was my first story. Oh, but yeah, we had some great times.
You must have an odd belter from Newquay.
Yeah, there's some belters in Newquay.
Wasn't there an interesting one with Mark Foy and a dress?
Oh, Mark Foy, yeah. So, Mark Foy. What about... He'll kill us for saying that.
Yeah, he will, but I know this story. You told me this story of barbel fishing recently.
This is what Whiteacres were like. Never met Mark Foy in my life. So we're at the bar, and this scruffy little so-and-so comes up to me, goes, "You in B section?" I went, "Yeah." He went, "You got a big car?" I went, "I've got a Fiesta." He went, "I'll come with you then, yeah?" I went, "What?" He says, "Me dad," was it dad or someone? I can't remember. He was with someone else who was in a different section. They were meant to put people in the same section that wanted to, and he'd forgot to tell them. I went, "Yeah, sound, jump in with us." Like, I said, "You going uptown tonight?" "Yep, going uptown tonight." So anyway, we're going uptown, and I didn't see him straight away because I've gone in my little group and he's gone in his little group, and we're there, and then we get to Sailors, where you go on a Saturday night. There he is on the dance floor, absolutely all over this bird. He was like a monkey. He wouldn't get dancing away, just having the best time. And you know, the boys were chatting up all the girls all the time there. That's what it was like. It was a holiday. It was like a stag weekend for a week, weren't it? And they're having a laugh and that. Anyway, I lost touch with him that night or whatever, and went back off with the boys. Got back, steaming headache Sunday, and then Monday drew Twin Oaks. Drew a little bit low. I was on peg 6. So anyway, I got there, getting set up. Where's Foy? So I knew he drew next to me. I see him in the draw queue, and he ain't come to his late. And there's like literally like, you got 2 hours set up. There's like 40 minutes left. He's still not come. I went, and then I saw him coming down. So he's come down, started saying, I said, "You all right, mate?" "Yeah." And he was fucking pissed as a fart still. "It's Monday now, mate. You know, everyone's finished partying on Saturday night." He went, "Oh, I took that girl out again yesterday," or whatever. Anyway, I went, "Oh, right, is she not?" Yeah, really nice." He went, "Look, I've got her dress on." And he undid his windstopper, and he's got this bird's dress on with his clothes on. He went, "It's a good look charm."
Never. He's nuts, isn't it?
Crazy.
Love him.
Crazy.
He did the whole match like that.
Sat there the whole match, fish match. I don't think either of us caught much.
Amazing.
We weren't like the good pegs were to our right, but we caught a few fish. Had a whale of a time, and you know, like those scenarios happen. And you're friends for life. I've got one more story about White Egg. Should I tell you?
Go on then.
Yeah. This is a different one. This isn't about women and partying and having a great time with your fishing. So, as we started staying down there, our group got a bit bigger, and this one year we got Martin Green come to stay with us. Martin Green, if you don't know him, he's works for Daiwa now. He's quite high up there. He's fished for England. He's done it all really. Gone through the ranks. Very similar sort of pattern to what I've done, apart from I've fished for England. And he has got so much gear. You've never seen anything like it. So we're in a 4-bedroom lodge, and Martin could be in there on his own. He's got that much gear.
Brilliant.
Couldn't even see the telly. The stacker boxes, you know, like Reeve stacker trays with things. I was prepared. He brought his own tackle shop with him, and he had a little video camera. He was doing some little videos and stuff, and that, and he was staying with us. And Martin's very particular, you know. He had his own bedroom. Everything was organised, and he took everything very seriously. Great laugh. He took everything very seriously. And anyway, I went up the bar on I think it must have been the Sunday before the festival started, and I'm up there, and if you wanted a laugh, you went near Tony Winnick or Dean Barlow for a story. So anyway, on the Saturday night, our lodge got broken into.
Right.
And Martin's stuff got all messed up, and stuff were missing, and there were footprints all the way through our lodge, like mud everywhere, all over Martin's bed and everything.
Which will have driven him mad, because there is...
like that. And like he wasn't convinced, but he thought, because he had that much stuff, he didn't know what had gone missing. So we didn't know if we'd got missing. So we told Clint, we said, "Look, we've had someone in our lodge." And that. So like when we were at the bar, everyone's like, messing with the wrong lodge. You've got Richie Hall living in that lodge. You don't want to be nicking anything out of there. And so Martin stayed in with the ump because he thought some stuff had gone missing. His bed had been messed up. There was mud everywhere, and he was worried that obviously they might come back. And I'm up the bar with Barlow, and Barlow's telling a story. So Barlow's like, "God, you wouldn't believe it, last night I got absolutely hammered." And I was like, "Oh, right, yeah." He says, "Yeah." He said, "I thought I ain't going uptown," because he didn't come uptown that night. He said, "I'm going back to my lodge, escape for an early night." Got back to his lodge, no keys. All the lads had gone up, new key. So he couldn't get in. So he's walked around the back of the lodge to get in the window. The back windows used to open quite a long way, if you remember, and bathroom. So he's climbed in, got himself sorted, went to put the kettle on, and he thought, well, this is a bit different from my lodge. He weren't in his lodge. So he's obviously scarpered back out, covered the place in mud,
Awesome.
and gone back up the bar. And he's telling this story. And then I'm like,
Hang on.
hold on a minute. It was Barlow the burglar. And nothing had been taken.
Wow.
So obviously, yeah, it was quite funny.
He'd been in your lodge.
Oh, yeah, but the way he tells the stories was hilarious.
We'll have to have Barlow on the podcast.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, it'd be a laugh a minute. Yeah. But like I say, Whiteacres was the turning point. You learnt so much. Your profile raised so high. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by some good anglers, had some good finishes. Probably finished in the top 10, maybe 10 or 12 times, which was all you really
Massively,
wanted
you
to
should
do.
be massively proud
Yeah.
of that, mate. I remember whenever you got in top 10, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
You used to sit and study the
That's
top
it.
10.
I'd always come like 9th or 10th, 5th or 6th or 4th. And then
Wow.
obviously I finally won one, and I think I got a second on the Silverfish Festival once, which was another great event all down there. Any excuse to get to Whiteacres, you'd go. But
We're
yeah,
going this year, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely for
on
the
the
Guru
Guru.
Festival, yeah.
Lodge mates.
Yeah. We have a lodge, yeah.
Yes.
Just don't invite Barlow. He'll come in anyway. But no, yeah, it's very different these days. But back then it was the place to be. Yeah, like if I speak to any of my friends that even don't go fishing, or even my friends that used to just come down for the weekend, you know, Whiteacres was such a massive part of growing up and fishing, and that is brilliant.
What a place. Coming out of Whiteacres, something else that I'm dying to ask you about that I know you was involved with
Yep.
on various levels really is the England feeder team setup.
Yeah.
How did that come about and what was your involvement in it?
Well, obviously, it was in the prime of Whiteacres, doing a lot of festivals. Method feeder was allowed, so we were doing really well down there, a few of us. And it was weird, really. We'd heard a rumour before we went down, and I think there was a little bit on Facebook or one of the forums about it, and didn't really know a lot. Anyway, went down to Whiteacres. I think Bonesy was staying with me and Rich.
Alex Bone.
Yeah, Alex Bone. Sorry, Bonesy. The boy. And we'd been fishing, and I got a text. I can't remember what day it was, off Tommy Pickering. Oh, help. And it said, can you pop round my lodge this evening? I thought, oh no, what have I done? Am I in trouble? So, I mean, again, someone I didn't mention so much was Tommy was always there, always a key part of Whiteacres, and his family used to go, Emma, Thomas, you know, a brilliant family down there, and a big part of Whiteacres life again, and they won an awful lot down there, which was great. And obviously Tommy's like invited me around. He's like, oh, it's a bit odd. Anyway, driving back, and Bonesy phones me, Alex. Bonesy phones me, goes, you got a message off Tommy? I was like, yeah, did. I said, you go in? He went, yeah, we'll go, see what it is. All right, well, we'll go. So got back, had a shower, whatever, and then went round, like a bit nervous, really. Didn't know what it was, really, and sat down, and it was amazing. We sort of sat there and worried, because, like, I didn't know if I dropped a clanger a few years previous about his son having a tattoo on his back that he didn't even know about. I ain't dropped myself in it again, have I? Won't go into that story. But yeah, young Tom had a tattoo on his back. Bloody good tattoo, to be fair. And Tom come round our lodge and come round for a cup of tea or something, chatting to Richie, and I went, God, your lad's tattoo's nice on his back, innit? He went, what tattoo? I went, oh. Shit.
Sorry, little Tom.
Bright red, in trouble. But no, it all went down nice in the end. But yeah, a very embarrassing moment. So anyway, we're around there, bit unsure what's going on. He sat us down, cup of tea. He goes, right, lads, there's this England feeder team coming about. Me and Bones were like, yeah, fancy a bit of this. And then he started saying it was like SIPS rules, very different from what you're doing. I'd done quite a lot of that style of fishing with starlets and that, and like Attleborough gravel pits and places like that. We've done a bit of that fishing. And he was like, are you keen? He says, because if you are, I'm going to do a trial at Attleborough gravel pits. I was like, yeah, be 100% there. So obviously we went away, buzzing really. And then there was a few other lads like Dean had been invited, and Steve Ringer and Phil at the time. So all chatting, and it's all getting pretty exciting. And then a few weeks before the actual trial, we'd all found out there was quite a few people coming to this trial, and like some people that didn't really know as well, which later, you know, become amazing friends and great anglers. So we were going to Outerwood gravel pits, and Tommy put this really terrible thing in the sort of itinerary. It says some venues you will go to when fishing for England, you'll have to learn how to cast a cage feeder or a feeder 100 metres. Like,
wow.
100 metres.
I ain't got that much line on my reel.
Yeah. Not thinking how far 100 metres was, we actually tried to learn how to do it. And obviously it was pretty impossible with the gear. We were using very rarely used braid. So it was a big learning curve. And obviously using a lot of bloodworm and joker. Luckily I'd done a lot of canal fishing with Milton Keynes and Starlets, so I knew my way around bloodworm and joker. So I was quietly confident. Destroyed by this 100 metre thing. Just didn't have the gear to do it. So I brought like Bazia reels, filling them up with a finished braid I could and stuff like that. And we had a trial, and Tommy was very clever. Like, Tommy is an amazing angler and he's an amazing manager, but he was very clever. He knew what he needed to find at this trial. So he'd popped these little bombshells into the trial to see what people were capable of and how they dealt with it. Anyway, I'd decided myself that I was not going to be casting 100 metres this day because I couldn't cast there. So I fished as far as I possibly could, and I was just going to say, you know, this is what I can do at the moment. I'd love to, not possible to do it, which actually worked in my favour because it was proving into him what I was capable of doing. But a lot of people on the trial spent the day thrashing the water, snapping rods and stuff, trying to get to this 100 metres. And at Outerwood gravel pits, not a great deal of fish were caught either. So it was a big learning curve. But Tommy knew exactly what he was doing. So that was the trial, and we sort of didn't hear anything for a little while. And I was like, oh well, knackered that one up then. And I remember Bonesy, he's an unbelievable caster. And he was on this point next to Mick Viles, and I think Bonesy and Mick Viles were the only two people on that whole session that could cast 100 metres, and they were casting off braid straight off the reel, really thin braid. Right. And it was like phenomenal. And Bonesy was casting like in between this island. It was probably about that deep, and he was never going to catch a fish there, but he could cast there. Do you know what I mean?
He loved that.
Oh,
though,
he
Alex,
loved it, and he was so good at it, good at it. And there was a real buzz for it. And then we didn't really know what happened, and then all of a sudden the team was announced, so he'd picked the team. And we weren't in the top six. He'd picked the team, which was fair enough. Can't even remember who was exactly in that. I know Steve Hemingway was part of the team, Darren Cox, Mick Viles, not a big name in those days, Mick. Obviously, he used to be on the Super Leagues. He was a bit of a paste angler in the time. He used to fish hemp and paste. He was quite famous for it. He did quite a few features which were really good. And then he was back on the scene as a feeder angler, and you sort of like, yeah, feeder angler like that. And Dean Barlow, who I've grown up with, I know how good he is at that sort of style of fishing.
Good at everything.
We're all involved,
Dean.
yeah. And they got a lot of stick, really. But fair play to Tommy. He really knew what he was doing there. And to start a team from scratch on a circuit that no one's fished before was pretty amazing. And obviously the first one was at the World Games in Italy. Is it Italy?
Yeah, I was there.
You were there,
I was there with the juniors,
You were there fishing for England yourself at that prime young age, and there's me scranting around getting old, still trying to get in the England team. But no. So anyway, we didn't get invited to go with the team, so it was like we had to go off our own back. And at the time, Alex was working at the magazine, so he sorted things out his end, and I sorted things out to go here, and we went. And
Tommy encouraged you to go,
yeah,
though.
It was... Everything in the early days was a bit of a test with Tommy. He tested you to find out what kind of angler you were. Tommy knew what kind of commercial anglers we were and knew what kind of people we were, but he didn't know what we would be like on this scene, or, you will know better than anyone else. The international scene and the world, fishing the world champs is totally different from anything else. The pressure, it's a whole different mindset. And yes, you sit against someone in the UK, you pretty much know what they're going to do, you know how it's going to be. But you sit next to someone that's from a totally different part of the world, they're going to fish in a totally different style, which will totally affect how you're catching fish. And, that's why the likes of, you fit in so well, because you can cope with that. And Tommy's got this big puzzle to sort out to try and get the team. And I mean, I just take my hat off to the guy. He's just amazing. And we travelled over to Italy. And we were so excited, me and Alex. our flight was cancelled and we had to get on a later flight, and then we couldn't get our rental car, so we had to sleep in the airport. And we're buzzing to try and get to this venue to go and see everyone. Bearing in mind, we've been up all night, hardly slept. Managed to get our hire car. Bonesy nearly killed us about 10 times because the steering wheel was on the other side, and we're like going flat out trying to get to the World Games as such, to go and see our team practicing and seeing what it's all about. Never been there before, so excited. We'd fished a few internationals and bits and bobs before, so we were sort of getting to grips with it all, which was really exciting. But obviously we went off to this World Games, and when we got there, it was all like dead serious, all these teams in boxes and stuff, and we piled in. All right, lads, go. And like Tommy and Glenn at the time, like, lads, move out of the way, get out. And we're like, hold on a minute, mate. We just travelled like nearly 2 days sleeping in an airport to get here to come and see everyone, and it was really hard to take. Because all you wanted to do was get involved. And Alex was done by this point. He like lay down by the van and he was knackered. He drove and it was like a bit of a disappointing start to it all.
Probably not like the best welcome that you wanted from Tommy and Glenn and teammate, but I bet it was a quick realisation of how serious that setup and international fishing side of things actually was.
Yeah, it was a real eye-opener, because fishing's always been sociable. Even at the top level on the UK Super Leagues, you're all mates, chatting away, and, you did take it seriously, but obviously not to this level. But it soon come apparent why you needed to be like that. So it was a lesson learned. And I think it was just we were so excited to see everyone.
Come on, how's it going?
We were on adrenaline. We were knackered. And then to do that, it was like the biggest punch in the nuts you've ever had. I couldn't wait to see like Dean and Steve and Darren and see what the fishing was all about, And then it's like, you go and sit behind there, lads, you can't go close to them. I was like, what? But yeah, so a bit disappointed. And then to rub salt into the wound, we got back to the hotel, which we're all staying in. It was like, yeah, you boys can't come to the meeting. We're like, you were joking me.
Just travelled across the world to come and see you.
What have we come here? What have we come here for? And then the second day we start becoming involved. I sat behind Darren for a bit, and you start learning the way. And Tommy was just building us into it. He did exactly the right thing. And then by the end of the week, we were never fishing. Alex did a bit of media coverage because obviously he was working for the mag, and I run a couple of sections over the weekend, and it was amazing. Like, even not being part of it, the team didn't win a medal. That we got it wrong, but Steve obviously won an individual, which was amazing.
And was it a good in for you? What happened next? Was you more heavily involved in years to come?
It was an in, and it made me want to do it more, because I felt like, right, you know what I'm like. I'm not the type of person that can half-heartedly have something
all or nothing,
and then take it away from me. It's like, right, that's it now. I'm getting in that team. And, when you see the people that are sitting down there on the seat boxes, you knew it wasn't going to be easy. And Tommy even fishing himself, and deservedly, what is the word?
Deservedly,
It's been a long podcast. He deserved to be sat down on the box, and it was a massive learning curve for us. And I think that's where a lot of people give the England team some stick in the early days, but it's the understanding of being able to fish at that international level. It's a totally different game. And from there, we come back. Obviously, amazing that Steve won an individual, but for Tommy, it was all about winning a team medal. And I think for the rest of the lads that were part of it, he had drummed into them that that's what it was all about, and it was all about a team thing, which appeals to me massively. My best days fishing, although Whiteacres was a massive thing for me, team events, winning a gold medal, being part of a team was what it was all about, really.
Yeah, success with a group of you.
So, as the obviously after the World Games, there was a big buzz about feeder fishing, and it probably transformed the market a little bit, to be honest. And friendly internationals started coming about, so we went to Belgium. You usually had internationals in the country where the World Champs was going to be, so we got to fish those, and we had great success winning golds. We even I was in the B team, and we even beat the A team a couple of times. So you were learning loads. Your fishing was improving, and also it changed what you wanted from fishing. like fishing a 20 pegger at Makins on a Sunday just didn't work anymore. 200 peg winter league or something a bit different, but your drive was to get into this England team and to be part of that. It was massive. The internationals give you a taster of that, and also you met loads of new people, created new friends, and it's just another whole new world. And that's the great thing about fishing, that whatever bit you go into, you meet new people and you learn new things, which is what I think drives a lot of people, and it's really exciting. And obviously, top of Tom's agenda was to win gold medals, which you were in a tough team then, because you'd go there, and no disrespect to some other countries, you'd go on an international and you'd be walking the bank and you'd be disappointed you're not in the team, or you'd walk a world champs and you're disappointed you're not in the team, because you're like, well, I know I could do a better thing than him. There was other teams from around the world that weren't half as good as the England team, but you're trying to get into one of the very best teams. It's not so much like that now. I'd say all the other teams are getting better and better and better, and there's been a few massive surprises. But yeah, where do we go from there? Internationals, we fished quite a few in Ghent.
Yeah, been there.
And then the Ghent Tunesian, which is in Holland, which was a really tricky venue. And Tommy started introducing quite a few new people into the team.
Is that the Ghent Tunesian? Is that the big canal?
Massive, with the ships on it.
Huge, you've got Titanic going down it while you're fishing, and
and the water gets sucked away. Oh no, here it comes back again.
Right.
Yeah, so fished internationals on there, few memorable days. Practice, I always seem to do really well in practice, and I don't know why.
Do you feel the pressure, do you think, at all? Do you get nervous? Or
See,
does that
I
get
never
to you?
felt any pressure at all, but this is what got me. So, few internationals in. My first 3 internationals, I was first or second in section the first day. Second day, bombed. So, proper bombed out. And whether it was me or the pressure of doing it the year before or the international before, I felt terrible pressure then. In practice, I was fine, really chilled out, enjoyed it. Got told off a few times from Tommy for not concentrating like we all did. You start looking around and stuff. And you're trying to learn off people as well. You got Steve Ringer 2 pegs away from you. He's the king at that sort of style of fishing. You want to learn from him. And his brother Phil, who's just unbelievable natural talent, and people like that. So as well as you are there to do a job, you're very lucky to be sat where you sat.
You're going to have a glance left and a glance right in that company, aren't you?
And the fishing was never great, so there was always plenty of time in our eyes to concentrate, to have a chat and a conversation. And obviously Tommy knew that weren't the thing we should be doing. We should be looking for every single bite and making the most out of every single minute of that match. And that's what we did. So for myself personally, practices were great. Worked out a lot of things, and I feel like I had good input in my teams. But my second day always let me down, which sort of got to me a little bit. And Tommy knew it got inside me. And on the Ghent Tunesian, it was quite a common thing to blank. And I remember the first day of one, I can't remember what year it was, fished 3 or 4 internationals on there. I won my section on the first day, so you got a chance the second day. And I blanked on the second day, which killed me.
Hero to zero sort of
cold.
thing.
I had 2 wind stoppers on that day and my jacket, and I remember untangling the keep net from around my head at one point. It was that windy. The keep net had come out the water and come around my head, and I swear to God, probably don't tell Tommy this, but I missed a bite as well, trying to sort stuff out. It was probably only there was these little goby things, but it would have got me maybe 4 points. So I was battling against myself a little bit then. And then it was Ireland, which was the big turning point, really, probably for the whole team. And again, I don't know why, but every time Tommy was going to announce a team, I always thought I was going to be in it. You just want to, don't you?
Yeah.
You must get it yourself. And you think, well, I've had a great year's fishing. I'd been to Ireland 6 times with Barlow, fishing different events, doing really well. Sorted things out, threading maggots and different ways of catching fish. So I felt in my head,
This is the time.
Yeah, I want to fish now.
World Championships,
and then
Ireland.
you get the call up and I'm reserve, bait boy. Hurts, man. Hurts bad. But
Did it ever put you off when you weren't picked? Did you ever think doing this?
No, that didn't put me off at all. Ireland was different. Ireland, I don't know why, but felt like we were going to win as soon as we turned up. But there'd been lots of festivals and events on before, and they'd done so well. And when we were there, a few days, it was the team plan was great. And, you know, Steve's funny. Steve Ringer's funny. He always cracks me up because on practice, he never catches lots. And I worked out what he's doing because I was spending a lot of time on the bank. The trouble with the England team, there were so many people fighting for those few places. And Tommy included. Tommy was still fishing at this stage, which capability-wise, fully deserved to be sat on a box. But you can't manage a team and fish at the same time. So in Ireland, he got off his box and decided to give someone else a chance, which eased the pressure a little bit. But yeah, I was going back to Steve. It was just amazing. I used to walk the bank and like there'd be lads catching loads of fish and stuff and really ploughing. And Steve'd be like trying different things, and that's why he wasn't catching, because he was the one developing every method that everyone done. So everyone had their input and was developing stuff and finding stuff out, and then he'd fine tune it. He's like different grade.
One step ahead.
Yeah, unbelievable. And you know, the talent there in that team is phenomenal. And by Tommy stepping off the box and going behind and being a proper full-time manager, for me, it was job done. I knew we were going to do well. And, you know, the lads were practicing. I got to fish sort of later on in the practices, had a few sessions, really enjoyed it. And there was lots of time to fish and be part of the team. But my main job was to basically run the bank every day, make sure everyone had what they wanted, and do the bait. And I'd done a lot of bait, obviously, working in tackle shops over my time, so it was no problem, and I felt it quite an honour to do it.
And it's a ridiculously important job on that
really
kind of event.
Really important job. And, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I still always had that burning desire to be fishing and thought, I'm better than a bait boy. But when you looked at the 5 bums on them seats, probably proud to be a bait boy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, but I wanted a chance. And... obviously, I run the sections. One nice thing which come out of it, which when they were picking a bank runner, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but it used to make me feel better that everyone wanted me to be their bank runner, because I don't know why. I always took like Keith's mentality from Starlets. I learnt a lot from him. He was always the calming person behind you.
Keith Ward,
yeah.
I can't remember Keith's surname earlier. Keith Ward, absolute diamond of a man.
Yeah, lovely man, so committed to Starlets as a team. And I sort of took on what he used to do and how he used to make me feel when I was fishing with Starlets, and make you feel calm and just keep level-headed. And that's what I tried to do on the bank. And I knew it was working because people wanted me to run the bank for them. And going into the match and stuff, we were very confident. But you never know, do you? Once everyone's sat there and fishing against each other, you never know what's going to happen.
Fishing, anything could happen.
And I ran a bank run. There was it was in Ascara, which was sort of developed for the World Championships. It was an amazing venue. It was quite steep shelf, roach short, skimmers and stuff like that. I won't go into it in detail. That's for another podcast probably, with probably the main man himself who would tell you about it. But I run Dean Barlow's section, and Dean didn't draw very well on this section called the Garden Centre. So it didn't start off great. We've sat there all buzzing, world champs, and the bloke next to him's had his gear delivered to his peg about 10 minutes before the start of the match I can't even remember what country he was from. He chucked out, I'd won a bung, he's getting a bite. But that's what happens. But he got into his rhythm. I've run the section and made sure he knew exactly where he was, and he was in the toughest section and got really... You know, he was that 5th man. He had to get that result, as Tommy would say. You know, the 4 that are in the good sections get the points, first and seconds, and obviously, you know,
you're only as good as your worst result.
That's
aren't you,
it,
really?
yeah. And Dean was that worst result on that day, but it was an amazing result from where he was sat. And then obviously the second day was the big one. We'd gone in absolutely pulverising it on the first day, and you know, but. As Tommy always says, a game is of 2 halves. And we were buzzing because we knew we'd done well. But obviously it could all turn on its head for the second day. And the second day, I stayed on the garden centre because I'd learnt so much about the section and how it fished that Tommy kept me in that section. And I was bank running for Phil Ringer, which is probably the easiest job in the world.
Keep going, Phil. Keep catching him.
Yeah, Phil, just carry on catching, putting them fish in the net, which was great. It was a lot of pressure off me. But I knew, obviously, we had a gold medal team. And obviously there was a chance of Steve's gold medal as well, and some of the other boys getting in, because the result was fantastic from the first day. And we got to the end of the match. Phil fished an absolute blinder. He reeled in roach all day long. Again, from a poor peg in the section. The best pegs were at the top end. Phil was really early numbers. So it was a day of roach fishing. And to be honest, I was like wowed by his performance. He's just not phased on nothing. And you know that that's someone to inspire to. I weren't as good as him. I shouldn't have been sat there. He was sat there and well deserved.
You were the man to be sat on the box
100%,
that day.
and probably everyone that was in the team was. You know, it was a really hard decision for Tom to pick that team, but the right people were fishing, and they all did fantastic. And obviously, I was running my section, and then Tommy's come through, and all they wanted to know, like they hadn't told me, but obviously we'd won gold as a team anyway. So it was all about, right, who's won that section? And there was I can't even remember the guy's name now. Felix.
Yes.
From Germany. Absolute detonator.
I think he's won a world championship
I think he has now.
Yeah.
Like, Phil Ringer could wind roach in. This bloke was like a joke. He wasn't human. So, and he was just like, we called him a detonator. He was just so good and such a nice guy as well. And Tommy's come through to me and sort of basically said that is Felix won the section. And I was like, he's going to be close. I said the only guy that can beat him is, I can't remember what country it was from, a couple of pegs off the end of the section, which was a renowned peg from the day before. You catch bream up there. And this Felix was like on the edge of where you could catch bream or fish for roach, but he just literally ploughed roach like I've never seen before. And they've weighed him in, and he's had like he was winning the section. He had a really good weight, and we're moving along. Tommy's on the thing, and Steve's won his section, but he can only be beat if this Felix beats him, because Felix had got 2 wins.
So Felix needed to win the section to beat Steve to the world championship.
I think it was beat on weight, wasn't it? So I can't remember anyway the ins and outs of it, but all I remember is Tommy literally just hear his breath down the and he's like, is Steve? I said, Felix is still winning. I said, we've got the end 2 pegs now, and the guy put his fish on the scales. God, it really annoys me. I can't remember who the guy is. But anyway, it was... And I thought, he's never beat Felix with that. Never beat Felix with that. And I was like, how do I say anything now? Tom, Felix has won the section. Because I knew the end bloke hadn't beat him. So I was like that. Anyway, like, he's pulled his fish out. And as he started coming towards, like, running up the bank, because they hold the fish like this, don't they? And they roll them down the net. I was like looking at it and thinking, do you know, this is going to be close. Anyway, he's put the fish on, and then everyone's in the way, and I couldn't see. So
they all gather round the scales,
pushing everyone out the way. Anyway, I looked, and it was like, I think it was 14 kilos or something he needed, like that. And oh God, the feeling. It was like, yeah, he's beat him. He's beat him. And I remember going, and I saw like Felix's bank run. I was just about to start, you know, you'd made friends with these people all week. I was just about to cheer and everything. Like, oh, Felix, but I don't want to say anything. Like, he's won. He's beat Felix. I was like running away in the hedge to try and tell Tommy.
Brilliant.
It was just like the most amazing moment. But you weren't, do you know what I mean? It was just crazy. And you didn't want to shout out because this bloke probably, as much as Steve, you wanted to win the world championship, this bloke's fished his heart out.
Yeah.
And this guy's just literally destroyed him. That's how close and how tight it is.
So you can see both ends. You can see the guy that's lost the world championships, like, and you're on the phone to the guy that's won it.
Yeah,
basically.
And I'm like, his bank runner who's doing the same job as me all day is, you know, you're swapping information, you're making friends, so you've got clear information for your manager. And then I'm like trying to like cheer, and then you feel bad because of this guy. But yeah, fair play to Steve, like unbelievable.
What a guy.
Double gold. I mean, for me, that was a massive highlight, and I got a gold medal for obviously being part of the team. I didn't really feel like it was a medal for me, because for me, a medal, you need to be sat in the box, and I'm sure you'd feel the same in all the ones that you've fished. So for me, I hadn't completed it. But I had the most amazing time in the atmosphere and the thing, and obviously being in Ireland as well, which is sort of like a home country to us. It was amazing, and to see Steve, who'd worked so hard to be
someone
where he
you'd
was.
grown up fishing with as well,
and Tommy as well, and Tommy as well. For him to get off that seat box, he got off that seat box that day in practice and said, "Rooney, you get on there," and he didn't say what he'd done, but you knew what had happened. You knew he'd stood down, and for him, you know, that was massive. But he'd done the right thing for his team, and that was amazing. And I mean, Tom for me is the most amazing international manager, world manager that I haven't experienced others, but he's just so clever and so talented at what he did. It was amazing.
When and why did the England feeder team come to an end for you, Roon?
Couple of things really. Trying to do too much really. Obviously Guru at this stage was buzzing, growing, got more staff, got more responsibilities. I'd got a little baby on the way.
Little Ralphie.
Yeah, me and Cara's thing. And me and Cara didn't live together at the time. We were together and, in love as you are, and the baby was a bit of a surprise. It wasn't planned or anything like that. We were both a bit later in life. Cara had already got 2 children, not something we'd planned. But you do the right thing, don't you? So we decided to get a family home together, and that. And this is all happening while I'm trying to do the job at Guru and do the very best job I can. Because you know me, everything has to have 100%. And all of a sudden, I'm not the most important person in the world. I've got a family to look after and a little baby on its way who, I've got to look after and do the right thing. And we were going to Holland to the Ghent Tunesian. And again, I knew I wouldn't be fishing. We'd been to the international. The team did all right again. We got a trophy. I think we were 2nd or 3rd. Done all right. I'd done well in a real bad area, but felt a little bit better about things. I'd had a good result in the section and a 10th out of 18 or 20. So a bit better, do you know what I mean? And things were getting on top of me a bit. Like trying to sort a house out. Well, cutting a long story short, our house fell through with 2 weeks to go. So I got nowhere to live. We sold Cara's house and we're meant to be moving in. She's heavily pregnant.
How far on was she at this point?
I can't remember. Quite like 2nd scan, I think it was. And I'll be honest about the England team as well. Although they're fantastic anglers and stuff, but there was that much pressure on people. There was a lot of backstabbing. A lot of anglers changed through those teams in the years. And it's no one's fault. Tommy was probably the greatest manager, but there were certain individuals that would do things to get them where they needed to get to, which ruined it all for me. Like deep down I knew when I was in Ireland, some things happened in Ireland while I was there slaving away doing bait, which I didn't like. People were taking stuff and bait to give them an edge and things like that. I'm not going to mention any names because there's no point in doing it because they got the result they needed. But I in my heart, fishing for England is about being a team, and some of those anglers weren't playing as a team. I know that sounds a bit deep and dirty, and the team's very different now. The team's, they're well-rounded, they're well-experienced, and there's not that pressure. Maybe Tommy put too much pressure on people to get to that level. I don't know.
And they were still very early days.
But it made me feel sick, really, because I've never been like that. You either win because you're good enough, you get in that team because you're good enough, not because you shit on everyone to get where you need to get to. Yeah. And unfortunately, there was a certain amount of that, and certain people that I've got a lot of respect for got hurt during those days and stuff. I'm not, like I say, I won't go into it anymore, but that was on my mind as well. So there was a lot of pressure. I was going to Holland again to be a bait boy. My missus is having a baby and my house has just fell through. And I was driving home one day.
And you're trying to run one of the biggest fishing brands that's up and coming.
And that was,
bit of a full plate there.
Yeah. People manage it and people cope with it. Some people that are great at it, but I messed it up. And I needed to be true to myself that I weren't in the right position to be moving forward with this. And probably because Tommy respected me a lot and was there, I couldn't provide a good enough job for that team at that point. So I rang him and I said, look, Tommy, I'm not going to come. And then you get all the backstabbing and stuff on the group and that, and it really hurt me. So like people like telling lies and Roon's give up fishing and stuff like that. It's rubbish. I just woke up and realised that you can't do anything. And although my dream has always been to fish for England, from a young age, when I saw what happened in Ireland, it sort of tarnished it for me a bit. and 2, I took too much on. I was running a big fishing brand, a lot of pressure on me. I had employees that I needed to look after and care for, and I had a beautiful girlfriend, and she had 2 children, and we had a child on the way. I needed to take a step back, and balance my life a little bit better. So that's what I did. So I literally got home. It broke my heart because that's all I ever wanted. And I got on we got a WhatsApp group, and I just left the group. And then like all the phone calls come through, and didn't want to speak to anyone. And I spoke to Tommy, and
what did he say? What did you say to him? And what
Tommy
did he say?
was the most supportive person ever. Some people didn't realise how much it, like even Cara didn't really understand what I'd give up, But I needed to give it up, and it was the right thing to do. So that's probably why she didn't expect anything different. But I rang Tommy. And I said, and he was the most supportive person ever. And he said, you do what you need to do. Family comes first. And he was dead right. And he said, the day you want to come back to my team, you pick up the phone. And like, it was hard, but that's what I did. And I watched them in Holland and like from home and waited for the results.
Did they win in Holland as well?
Yeah, they got them. Yeah, first I think
they
won.
won because
they
won Ireland.
Yeah,
then
3 in a row.
Yeah.
And I weren't part of it, and I saw the picture. And I was over the moon for the team and everyone that was there, but I was burning inside that I'd give that all up. And maybe I wasn't, but for me, I was next in line to get an opportunity, or even to be that 6th person fishing on practice week, which, who knows what would have happened. But I did what I needed to do.
When I listened to that story though, Roon, yeah, you've dropped the England team, but wow, you've got... I see you with little Ralph now, and can't stop giggling and laughing and smiling about it. And you and Cara have got little Ralphie, and that is something amazingly positive that came out of it. And look at Guru and what you've achieved with that. And to have them plates all spinning, I think my personal opinion is nigh on impossible to do all that.
It was. It was, and it just took a long time to realise it. When you're losing something you've always wanted... for other reasons, you do become stubborn and selfish. And I was being silly, really. And it was affecting my fishing as well. Yeah, I wasn't enjoying my fishing. There was too much pressure, only pressure from myself, because I always like to do the best I can. So, yeah, I wound it up. But you never know, one day, like Barlow's there now running the thing. He asked me to go back last year.
Dean Barlow, yeah.
He's managing the team now. And he asked me to go back to help out last year and get involved again. Not ready yet. Little Ralphie's growing up. I'm away all the time with work and being, my commute's 2.5, 3 hours every single day if we're in the office. So I've got more important things at the minute, but I'm happy with that now. I'm content with that. And, getting Guru to be a rounded brand like Preston, Drennan, the ones you look up to when you're growing up is my main aim, and to look after my family.
Mate, there's so much positive stuff going on.
Yeah, there is.
You might sound a little bit negative when you're coming out of that England side of things, but
yeah,
a lot to be proud of and a lot of positivity there still.
Yeah, I can be proud now of everyone else, which is great. So, like, for you, for instance, obviously you get to do what you do, and I know that by you working for me, I can help you.
Yeah.
So I'm not helping it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a tricky one.
There's a very big picture to look at.
There's a lot bigger picture, yeah. And some people might not see that, but I know by, you work your ass off for me, so I look after you the best I can, so you can have the nicest life and you can do your world champs without thinking twice. Anyone that works for Guru and wants to get to an international level gets full support from, Danny, Damo, myself. You go and fish that, and you become the best person you can be. That's the main thing.
But there's still a glimmer that Adam Rooney might be.
I'd love to, yeah. I'd love to. And like when I go fishing with the likes of you and Frank, and we go to things like Walterland, which is like international style fishing, mate, I'm on fire. That's where I belong. I love stuff like that. And obviously we've got people like Steve in the team, Poppy Taylor, yourself, Frankie. Like, the team's unbelievable. That the amount you can learn and take in is mega.
Before we move on to like a little roundup of summary questions, what's your own fishing involved recently? What I want people to know, what's fishing entail for Adam Rooney at the minute?
Well, at the minute, obviously this lockdown's messed everything up. Really,
Let's
isn't
not
it?
talk about lockdown.
No, we're not
Enough
talking
of
about
that.
lockdown. But no, I've been doing. Do you know what? I fished the last real match I probably fished was the Boston Festival in the summer.
Didn't do very well in that, mate. Did you?
Struggled, yeah. No, so I've sort of finished on a bit of a high so far.
Won the festival. Let's
won
tell
the
everybody.
festival, yeah. Won't go into it, but 3 days fishing. It's a Guru festival. Absolutely enjoyed it. Really relaxed. Obviously, COVID was about, so we had to be careful. But yeah, fantastic. Really enjoyed that. And then obviously restrictions got a bit tighter after that. Fished a couple more matches. Again, I just stayed local to Boston. To be honest, I haven't had the time with everything going on to prepare. And you know what I'm like. If I'm not prepared for a match, I just won't go.
No.
Even like when we go fishing, you're like, oh, come on, do this. I'm like, no, because I ain't got my gear ready.
Yeah, I've got a little funny one for you, Toad.
Go
right?
on.
You know, Roon's got this OCD thing. Like he talked about at Whitey because he likes all his rigs laid out.
I didn't know how bad it was until
Right,
this.
well, it's bad, and I get the full brunt of it because you know when we go filming,
Go on.
he likes to sit and have his little fish, and I'm like, right, you get us a fish, and when you get one on, we'll start the filming. In the meantime, I'm going to get you shot out your box and your baiting needle and set a bit of bait up, and I'm going to be getting some shots. So I'm always I'm always going through his tackle, messing it up, and he holds it in when we're filming. Like I can see him getting angrier and angrier and angrier, and then he's like, "Right, you ginger, such and such." Get that tidied up. Look at my box. Look at my bait tray.
Honestly, I'm sure he does it on purpose.
I do now.
I look what he does to other people when he's filming with them, and he doesn't make such like he wrecks my gear. He takes it apart. He takes stuff with him. It's like
Really, I can't imagine you angry. Honestly, I can't see
I don't
it.
get angry,
No,
but
he's not bad.
it's like I like my stuff as it is. It's only my little world of fishing gear.
Yeah.
And Godfrey comes like
comes
a bull in a
into
china shop. Frankie's the bloody same. It just wrecked my stuff. But no, I love it, and I love being out filming and that. And I've missed a lot of that because we have, certain projects and stuff we haven't been able to do, which is killing us inside, isn't it?
Mate, we'll be out of this very soon, hopefully in the coming weeks.
But we've done some great stuff though this year. We've been
Yeah.
barbel fishing a lot. Broke my PB barbel this year.
Tell us a little bit about that because you've put quite a bit of effort into that style of
Shall I
fishing.
tell them what
haven't you?
peg it is?
Nope, we're not telling them that.
Yeah, no, I've always been really keen on barbel fishing and other types of fishing. I think for me, unless it's a competition that I'm prepared for, ready for, that's why I love festivals and like Walterland and things like that, because I know what's coming. I've got time to prepare in my short window of time I've got. Kara's very understanding that, our life is full on, but she always lets me prepare and get my stuff ready, and she knows that will make me a better person when I go to these events. So I avoid like weekend opens for a couple of reasons, really. I get mithered a lot, and that's not being rude, because I love all our customers and love all the people in fishing, and I love answering questions and helping people as much as I can. But sometimes you need a bit of you time, and fishing used to be my you time, but now it's us time. So I've been going things like barbel fishing from Allstars, really, going to all these wicked places, having a dabble at it because we don't get much time to do anything, and going back and barbel fishing. I've been drop shotting with Ralphie, taking Ralphie fishing. Like I'm not pushing Ralph into fishing, but I want him to experience all types of fishing, for him to make his own mind up. It's what I do, so I can show him that. He's not old enough to drive yet, so we can't go donutting in car parks. We'll get on to that another time. But so yeah, we've been barbelling, we've been going. We found a nice little spot, haven't we?
Yeah.
Go with our good old mate Mark Foy that we mentioned
definitely.
earlier. And I've broke my PB about 3 times this year, and there's a chance of a real whacker. But it's nice fishing, isn't it? Bit different. Something you go and chill out, relax. We've took some nice people and friends when we've been able to go, and I've really enjoyed it. The social element of it. Been roach fishing, not turning into a specimen angler, but just using my time wisely.
Going and catching some interesting fish.
I've been going on the canal with Ralph, and we've been catching like zander and little perch and stuff, and just spending an hour with him, something a little bit different. Get out of the house. And
I think something that's really nice about what you've been doing, mate, is after that initial lockdown, there were a sudden resurgence of new people coming into the sport.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've been doing similar kinds of interesting, different fishing to what non-match anglers might have been
even
doing
though
this
matches
year.
sort of come back and that, I didn't really feel it was right for me to go on them. And the matches I like to do, like I say, festivals. So you're going to be somewhere, probably staying away, and it's just not happened. So I've just focused on other stuff and just enjoyed being outside and just enjoyed spending time where I can with friends and doing that. But yeah, I'm buzzing now to do some matches. I'm even thinking of like polishing off the old jam roll and
Getting your pole out.
yeah, might do. Yeah.
Any,
That's a fishing pole to people that
Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
I was gonna say I didn't know what you were on about.
Get your pole out, Roon.
So, but no, yeah.
Any can we expect to see anything carbon wise from Tackle Guru in the 2021?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe a pole?
Maybe 2.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Look, I could do a lot more on this podcast for you. We haven't even talked about cars. We haven't even talked
Sorry,
about.
Toad.
Oh, that's what I was waiting
We haven't
for.
talked about fishing All-Stars.
Oh, fishing All-Stars as well. And Macy.
we haven't talked about
I haven't spoke
fishing
about my
gurus.
best mate Macy.
Well, look, we have got plenty more time
Yeah.
to carry on and do
Macy
more
be
podcasts.
using this, won't he?
Deep down,
You didn't mention me on the podcast. I thought it was your mate. So I'll just take that with me.
deep down, I want to do a separate fishing All-Stars
Yeah,
style podcast.
I'd love to come back and do
Get
an
Gary
All-Stars.
Newman in.
Yeah.
You and Macy on there. I can
Get
come
you in.
Exactly.
Nige Buffaway.
He could even present it. So look, we've got plenty of time to do it. So before we go, I know you've got a couple of gifts for us, but
Yes, I have.
I want to fire at you my quick fire questions.
Here we go.
So a few for your ear, Roon. Short, sharp answers. One item in your tackle box that you couldn't live without. What is it?
It doesn't fit in my box, but I couldn't do without it, and that's my flask.
It's not. I'm not having that one.
Why?
No, I think that's
it's not-
good.
it's not in your tackle
My
box.
Stanley
Yeah, but-
flask. No,
hang on. Do you know
listen,
why
I'm going to
I love this
invent a
one?
tackle box. It does fit in now. Just to answer that question. No, honestly, my Stanley flask, although all my kit is super important and super organised, my flask is that's how I survived the day.
Are we letting him have it, Toad?
Mate, I'm going to back him up on that.
I
Because
love
when
my
he took me barbel fishing on the Wiley,
I saved Tobe's life.
mate, I was freezing. He went, "Go on, help yourself to a cup out of that flask, mate. It was best fucking cup of tea I've had in the bank in a while."
Hey, we had nice sandwiches as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, mate. Those ham
Your
sandwiches.
ham, yeah, you got that ham for us from
I
that
got it
lovely
from
box.
Butcher's.
I was
and
laughing.
Cara had made the sandwiches. I went, Tobe, you brought any food? He went, yeah, it's in the car with Simon. Simon Pitt and his mate had just bombed off to the best pegs and
Yeah,
left
that
me and
was it,
Tobe on
mate.
the old bumhole.
If it's 2 against 1, I'll let you have it.
Well done, Tobe.
We're going to have like a Guru flask holder attachment on our new seat box
No,
now.
you can't beat Stanley, mate.
Who would you say the very best angler that you've ever fished with is?
Oh, God. You
Well,
can't
me as
do
well,
that.
isn't it?
I fish with the very best.
I just need one.
I've got to pick one. Jesus. Sorry for the people upset. There's too many good ones to pick one. You know, you've got, in our team alone, we've got 3 or 4 that are really good. There's one that's pretty good sitting opposite me.
Yeah, well done, Tobe.
Cheers, that I said,
Well
mate.
done, Tobes. No, there's some amazing anglers, but to pick one, the person that always just like mesmerises me from when I was a small child watching him and buying the No Fear cap to be like him would be Will Raisin. Yeah, he's just like different gravy. How he sorts things out, how positive he is, and how, for me at Whiteacres, he was like such a nice person and very helpful. And throughout the years of my fishing, you know, we still chat today. He's just like unbelievable and, you know, unbelievable. And
I want to
he's
get
just-
him on here.
he's just
sooner
like,
rather
he is a
than
world
later.
champion, isn't he? That is it.
Yeah.
He's just the very best. And how he sorts stuff out and how he, like when you've spoke to him after a match, he'd tell you how he did it and you think, well, that wouldn't even enter my head. That's why you know how good he is. But, you know, there's lots. There's Steve Ringer, there's Andy Bennett, there's yourself, there's Darren Cox. I could go on forever, you know. Tommy Pickering, Jesus.
I
You
think
can't
Will
pick one.
Raisin.
That's a stupid question.
Great answer, Will Raisin.
But Will Raisin is a ledge.
You're in a lucky position. You fished all over the planet, really.
Yeah.
But if you could only fish one venue for the rest of your life, where would it be?
One venue for the rest of my life. Do you know what? I'd have probably always said a commercial growing up and that, because that was like they were new and stuff. But I'm going to throw it out there and say after this year and the barbel fishing and the type of fishing, even like, you know, the chub fishing and the roach fishing and that, I'm going to say the River Trent.
Love it. That'd be my answer.
You've turned me, haven't you?
I've got him.
Fishing that stretch of your, like where your granddad and your dad go.
Yeah.
You know, I've really enjoyed that. And the rivers are so good now, aren't they? You know, that for anyone that still thinks the rivers are hard work and that, they're so accessible now, and you can catch fish almost anywhere. I've even took Ralph on the rivers. I know it's a little bit dangerous taking a young kid and that, but we've gone to like the Warwickshire Avon and just done some spinning where I can hold him with one arm and let him have a go. But we've caught fish, and you know, for years in the past you'd struggle for a bite in places like that. But the rivers are really coming on. But yeah, my new favourite is the Trent.
Love it. If there were one thing you could change about fishing, and you're probably in a position where you've got a big influence on it, what would it be?
Well, I'd just make everyone buy guru gear. So, no, honestly, on a serious note, one thing I could change about fishing, the one thing that it doesn't bug me really, because fishing is what it is and you take it for what it is, because it's an amazing thing and it helps a lot of people in many different ways. But at the professional level, those anglers like your Steve Ringers, your Tommy Pickerings, you know, the Matt Godfreys, well, soon to be, and that put all that effort in and time in, I don't think you get rewarded like you should. I think the sport needs to become more professional. I'd love to help it do that myself, which one day I might be able to. You know, like darts, like snooker become, you know, it all started somewhere. But I think those people at the top of the tree, you know, Steve Ringer, like world champion and stuff, has to work for Guru every day of his life. You know, those people should be out and out professionals and stuff, and other people should have that opportunity. And I think the sport deserves it. And like even being part of like things like the Olympic Games and stuff, it is a pastime, it is a hobby, but it's such an exciting sport as well. And I'd really love it to go more professional.
Maybe we'll see something from you, mate, in the future.
Maybe.
Final one.
Yep.
Can't take credit for this question.
Go on,
stolen this from a good friend of mine and someone who I look up to in the, you know, media world.
Alex Rimmer?
No, definitely not. A lot bigger scale than anything I could ever wish to do. It's from Nigel Botherway. He asked me on TalkSport. I'm going to include it on all the podcasts, so I'm going to stop apologising for nicking it, Nige, soon. But I thought it were a great bit of advice, incredibly relevant considering what's happened this last 12 months.
Yeah.
If you had to give someone who had never fished before some words of wisdom to try fishing for the first time and get into the sport, what would those words be? How would you encourage them to do it?
God, well, for me, I don't know the exact words I'd use, but the first time you see a float go under or a quiver tip go round, and you're playing a fish, whatever size on the end of it, that's all you need, isn't it? So it's getting people perched on that box or on that chair next to a river or somewhere nice in the fresh air, you know, showing someone different. Fishing gets a tough rap sometimes, you know, like I'll speak to people, go, what do you do for a living? Well, I'll go fishing and I work for a fishing brand. What, you sit on a deck chair all day and catch nothing? It's not that, you know. Go fishing with someone that can show you what fishing can give you back. That would be my thing. Go fishing with someone that enjoys it, has been before, can show you what a bite is, you know. And I tell you, once that float goes under or that tip goes round, you're a fisherman for life then.
Love it. Roon, what gifts have you got for us, mate, before we wrap this one up?
I've got...
You got Santa's sack?
Yeah, I have.
Wow. So what we got here?
Cars Toad, we're on it finally. Can we do a car podcast? There's a bit of a story behind this. I listened to all Tobes and Simon's podcasts, and Ting Tong Ian was on, and he brought Jan Porter's tackle box on.
Is this Ian McMillan?
It is, yeah, who's had a pretty rough time over the last thing. Absolute legend of an angler and a man I've known for a long time. And when Guru first started, I obviously had to give up my Garbolino sponsorship. And obviously Guru only did a few feeders, bit line and a few weird shaped hooks, didn't they, when we first started? So your other tackle was down to you. But Alex and Steve were with Shimano. And Shimano took me on as a sponsored angler. And part of the deal was you did a few open days and stuff. And growing up, watched him on the telly, loved his videos. When I worked in Drinder's Tackle, we used to have like a video library, and we had all Jan Porter's videos, and I used to watch them. I loved them.
So we're talking about Jan Porter,
the man in red, yeah. And when I went to Shimano, I've always sort of had conversations with Jan. He's always one of these people that has always got time to speak to you. And he's just like, when you see him, it was just amazing. I remember going to like the NEC fishing show when I was a kid and queuing for an hour to buy a Shimano rod bag, but I wouldn't buy it off anyone else off the stand. I had to buy it off Jan. And I was there just staring at him. My dad's like, are we going now? And, you know, as a person and as an angler, he was a massive inspiration. And when I went to Shimano, I wasn't even thinking about it really. He sort of put my name forward as well as Steve and stuff, and I got a lovely sponsorship deal and really good support in the early days at Guru. And I don't like taking stuff for granted, so I said to Jan that I'll help with any trade shows and stuff and bits and bobs. So I started doing trade shows and started going to loads of them because I just love spending time with Jan and a few of the other, like Griff and people like that. And we used to speak about developing products. He used to try and teach me how to fly fish and stuff like that because he could do everything, couldn't he?
Yeah.
He was just like, and everyone at these things, like, I just thought, God, I'd love to be that bloke.
I used to watch Jan's videos.
Yeah.
Remember the Bream Machine video?
Oh, yeah.
The white and red, the complete angler set or whatever. The Bream Machine.
He's just one of those people that, and all of a sudden you're at a trade show with him, and like even the customers that work in shops and stuff, they'd come and Jan Porter was at the thing. You know, Steve Ringer's famous and Alan Scott Vaughan's super famous, but Jan Porter had something else, didn't he? And I got really friendly with him, and one thing we always used to chat about, he always used to go out his way to try and find out about you and your interests. Of course, I'm obsessed with cars and other things other than fishing, and we always used to chat about cars and different things. Not that he was interested in cars at all. He used to have a van that he'd taped up in different camouflage colours with a boat strapped to the top of it. So I felt a bit silly talking about cars, but he would give you 100% of his attention. And when you're doing trade shows, they're long days, long evenings and that. And I just used to look forward to the evenings to chat with, you know, the other lads and Jan as well. But he'd always go out his way to have a chat. And one day we were in the old place and this just come through the post. And it's a Porsche 911 Carrera manual. And this basically had come before the Porsche had come out. And I think it was his wife or his partner. She worked in this industry, so producing these books and catalogues. And she worked for, I don't know whether she worked for Porsche or the publishing company. But he sent me this lovely book. I mean, this means everything to me.
Can you hold it up for us and show it towards your camera? Yeah, perfect.
So this is a Porsche 911. So basically the new Porsche 911 was coming out. One of my favourite cars, which he knew, and probably a car that I dreamed to own one day. And he sent me this before the car had even come out. So it's like, wow.
Amazing.
And he just put inside, Roo, this has got your name all over it. All the best from Jan Porter, January 2016. And I was like over the moon when I got it. And he sent me this great big Porsche 24-hour Le Mans from their 17th, I think it was 17th overall victory as well. I mean, the book's amazing. And Jan sadly died in the April after this, and it was just so unbelievable. These books mean so much to me.
Where have you had them?
In my pant drawer.
Wow.
So my pant drawer is in my IKEA wardrobes, which is quite a big drawer. It's the only blooming drawer this book will fit in. Look at the size of it. And weirdly enough, I'm not superstitious, but a little bit.
You are a bit. You're a
little
weird.
bit, yeah. Like I have a Gonzo toy, which goes everywhere with me. But when I used to go in my pant drawer, I got a lucky pair of pants that I wear fishing, and I used to do this. Wish me luck today, Jan, and tap the book.
Wow.
Just, I don't know why. I mean, me and Jan weren't bestest mates in the world, but he was such a thoughtful and caring person.
And an iconic person in angling.
And at the trade shows and stuff, he'd give you all the time and give every single person that stepped in that room the time of day. And this just come through the post. And I mean, you know, to remember that he'd sent that to me. So I thought it deserved a better place than being in my pant drawer. So I wanted to put it with Ian's tackle box donations so other people can enjoy it. I mean, Tobe, you'll like it. It's some wicked cards.
Yeah, I'll be having a look at that for sure.
But rather than being in my pant drawer, I thought I'd rather have somewhere nice. And if we're having a display, then this needs to be in it.
Yeah, I do know.
Absolutely awesome.
I do know. Dan has said, and he wants to sort of real display like glass cabinets of these. So that'd be a lovely addition.
You know, it's a book on Porsches, but the photography in that big one's just a joke,
mate. That is awesome.
But it's just so. You know,
Yeah,
it deserves
wicked,
to be
that.
somewhere special rather than in my pant drawer.
Tobe, we'll have to have a look through these when we've got rid of him later, mate.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely awesome.
So,
Yeah, that's wicked though. Thanks, Ryan.
Have you got any more for us?
Yeah,
I know that you've got a little bag down there.
I've got
haven't you?
more. I didn't know we had more.
It's always hard, isn't it? So I'd like to. I had a big bag of
Brand
stuff.
manager, I wanted more than one off him. So
That's what I said. I'm waiting for my new rods and seat.
The next thing is, this is a few years old now, and it got called some names like a duck. But this was when we started going into clothing. I mean, I was doing it on my own then. Obviously, I had help of Damo and Tom Dove and people like that, which were, you know, without them. We had a clothing designer start called Mankit, who still works with us today.
Legend.
He's an
He's
absolute
a living legend.
Absolute legend. He's from Hong Kong. He's so skilled at what he does, and obviously he started developing our clothing range and stuff. So, and this was the very first cap that ever come,
Wow.
and which Mankit and me designed. It's a bit leery when you look at it now.
I think it looks all right.
That's all right,
I always remember my dad going, "You look like a duck." I don't know what you mean, Dad. So, but no,
Wow, that's brilliant,
It might have been my mum actually saying that, but one of them. But yeah, so that's the very first guru cap. So that deserves there's your first guru cap.
Thank you, mate.
And then, which we touched on earlier, this is only a little something, but I thought it's better than sitting in my drawer full of rubbish. It's the very first hybrid feeder.
Coming back to the story
Wow.
from earlier.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's it there. This one actually never come to production because, as you can see, it would have probably suited your style of fishing because you get about 2p's worth of bait in there.
Can I have a look?
Yeah, have a look. So that's a zinc alloy cast before it even had any colour on it, and that was the first ever sample we had made. I think it developed 4 or 5 samples down the line from that, and then I brought one of the finished products so you can sit next to it to compare.
Just think how many fish have been caught, matches have been won, pleasure anglers have caught the biggest fish on what developed from that exact.
That's it. So it's probably not my favourite product or something I'm most proud of, but it's a product that's become a bit iconic.
Massively iconic.
Yeah, you know, it's created its own name, and I thought it deserves to go in a cabinet, Tobes?
Yeah, Rooney, I've got to say, mate, you've smashed the old gift segment of the show. Definitely.
Oh, there you go, some nice ones, isn't it? So
Awesome.
Yeah, wicked.
Simply
places.
awesome. Adam Rooney, thank you very much, mate. It's been an absolute honour.
Yeah, mate, I've really enjoyed it as well.
thank you, boys. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Look forward to coming back.
The Fishing Gurus Podcast.